Evening and welcome.
I think it's just Mike and Tony in the chat room at the moment.
Hello, Mike and Tony in the chat room. Lovely you could join us.
Mm-hmm.
You are by far the nicest, most intelligent and handsome listeners we have.
Exactly.
In the chat room.
At the moment.
Yeah. Oh, you're really nice. I mean, anyone who can put up with 3 postponements. Was it 3? Anyway, third time lucky, I guess.
Anyway, I was really worried that Jeff would get rerouted today and then we'd have to do something. Anyway, I was very glad that it didn't happen.
Jeff get routed? You know what?
Yeah,
that's Australian for.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, in Jeff's lingo, he'd say rerouted.
Yes, he would. Yes, that's very true.
Hi, Masha. Great to see you.
Yeah, I mean, we had to get used to a few strange words for things when we went to Australia. One of which I never really got used to, and that was, hey, can you go down the store and buy me some Durex? And you want me to go buy you some Durex? Really?
And
yeah,
yeah. What does it mean there? What does that mean there?
Well, it's sticking tape. It's, like sellotape that you use to,
Scotch tape.
Scotch tape, yeah. But they call it Durex out there. Durex, which of course in the rest of the world, something completely different.
Exactly.
And then if you, some bloke's trying to climb over something and you say, hey, would you like a bunk up? He thinks that's something very rude. A bunk up, yeah.
I mean, I hardly know you, but
yes, exactly. I'm just trying to climb over this. I'm not bending over for fun.
Okay.
Masha's here.
Yeah, Masha and Tony and Mike at the moment.
Oh, that's good.
I figured this would be good timing for the Brits and the Europeans. So
yeah, absolutely.
Not so much for North America, probably.
Oh, I don't know. Well, not for the working man and woman.
Well, that's right. Exactly.
But for the
I don't know where that Micah is. I mean, he's not a working man.
He's got no excuse.
Yeah,
absolutely none.
I did update the site in case people are wondering.
You'll be having trouble probably though. What you drinking there, Nick?
Oh, he's there.
I've got a selection.
There he is.
Oh, pardon. I've got a selection tonight. This is a Hobgoblin IPA.
Oh, very nice.
Which is one of my favorites, I must admit.
Micah had absolutely no trouble getting in today, which is great.
Yay!
Which makes a change.
Yay!
We didn't do anything differently. Data point.
Yes. So you fixed your web browser at last then, Micah?
Yes.
I know what.
We could just turn this into a podcast where we insult all our listeners. Do you think that would be popular?
That would be fun.
Right.
Why not? It's entertaining.
Oh, I think so. Yes, absolutely.
Let's see. We're just about ready, folks. Just gotta.
So very nice little crew log from Nick Camacho last night. That was great to hear.
Oh, yes. Good.
Yeah.
For those of you who are patrons.
Yeah. Talking about what's coming up for him in terms of his work and travel and worrying about the hurricane. And Micah says, what would be different if you turned it into a podcast like that? Ha 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 ha.
He's got a point.
Jokes. I'll be right back. I'm using the restroom before we get started.
Yep.
Good idea. Yeah, this show gives me the shits too.
Work, schedule, work.
That's what Steffi's doing, and I guess Rick's somewhere working. And
yeah.
And what a beautiful cock it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very true, it is. Well, I'm enjoying some hummus.
Oh, I like it.
Could you hummus a few bars?
Yeah, that's right. Let me think about that. I should know that. Wait, how does that go? I'm trying to think of the Greek song which we always used to pretend to dance with holding handkerchiefs. You know, the way the Greeks do. They'll go around the circle. Yeah, Zorba the Greek.
Yeah,
That's the one.
Yep. That's it.
I don't think it's got any words.
No, it's just
That's
Exactly.
my favorite kind of song.
Micah
No
finally
lyrics.
got Netscape working. Remember when we were all on Netscape so many years ago?
Yeah.
It's the latest thing.
Netscape.
Is
Is that a really old?
Yeah,
Browser.
really, really old browser,
Yeah.
like 20 years
It was
ago.
just Netscape and then Microsoft
Explorer or something? Yeah.
Explorer,
I
that's
think,
right.
Internet Explorer.
Oh, God.
IE.
Who uses Internet Explorer?
No.
Everyone,
Micah's
come
making
on.
a joke. The cool kids, all the cool kids.
We were talking about Netcast. I mean,
Net-
Oh, okay.
Netscape.
Netscape.
Okay. I was about to say, I was like, oh, that's unfortunate whoever's using that.
There are some people that still use AOL.
Really?
at least
I thought they had all
AOL
died.
Mail. I'll be
What
in the
is the
pilot
one
lounge and all of a
before
sudden I
that?
hear,
where-
you've got mail, and I'm going,
Exactly.
was that
Really?
AOL?
I thought AOL
America
had.
Online or something?
yeah, America Online.
Is that the one where everyone used to send you discs? You know, they'd arrive in the post.
Yep.
Yeah.
It would
That's
just be
it.
CDs.
And they were only good for so many hours, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's,
So many hours of internet.
Yeah,
the
I used to
kids
have
don't
an
know how
AOL
easy
account.
they have it these days.
Kids.
Yeah,
These
exactly.
kids.
And that
Nobody-
funny noise your modem dial-up or dial-up modem used to make.
Such a lovely
Bring back
noise.
so many bloody memories. Oh my God, the line's dropped again. Will you get off the phone? I'm trying to use the internet.
Oh, man. Okay, where's the first video? First video is
The first of many is gone.
the Air India flight catching fire in the Muscat.
Sounds good.
Is that right?
I mean, it
Liz?
doesn't
Is that
sound
the
good.
first
Yeah,
one?
I think so.
Okay, let me...
Yes, that is the first one.
Good.
Okay, I need some a vote from the audience. Should I go to King Goblin, IBU, Premium Amber Ale, which has a little picture of a doggy on it, or Proper
Ooh.
Job? I paint a Proper Job.
I'm always up
IPA.
for a proper job.
You always feel better after a proper job.
Do you
Yeah,
now?
you do.
Okay. Well, it's going to be Proper
Hey,
Job.
I didn't listen to the last show. Where did y'all get the little card that the guy handed the pilot from?
Somebody
Where
sent
did
it
you get
in.
that picture from?
Somebody sent it
Somebody
in.
sent it.
Oh, okay.
Why, is it yours?
No,
Yeah.
no, but the joke originated at the SkyWest after page that somebody had handed it to somebody that was there. There's some good
Oh,
memes that came
interesting.
from it. Yeah,
Yeah,
there were some
not
good
some-
memes.
We ready to roll, guys?
I
Got
think
your
just a
recorder
minute,
on?
hang on.
Got your recorder on?
It's
Oh,
been
recording.
recording.
I am now ticking over. Anything else I need to do that I've forgotten?
You are
think
now
that's
taking
it.
over.
Sounds good.
My recorder's ticking over.
He's
Oh,
ticking
ticking
over.
over.
Okay.
Thought he said he was
Taking.
taking over. I went, okay, you got it.
Feel free. You have
You
control.
have.
You have the control of the podcast. Yes, you have
Good
control.
podcast.
At which point I put my hands in the air and go, Allah be saved. You have control.
So what do we say for you, Mr. Ivy?
Pilot out of Part 135 carrier.
There you go.
A pilot
That works.
at a
Broadcasting from his
135
home in Georgia.
fractional share company.
Yeah, that works.
Fractional ownership. Fractional ownership.
Fractional ownership.
Okay. But just quickly type out something for me to say.
Oh, by the way, you need to change my intro as well, Jeff.
Hi, Austin Blake.
Why?
Welcome.
And what was it say? Australian captain for Virgin Atlantic, now part of Sky Team.
Yes.
Okay.
What? Finally, after all these years.
I know you are too. But finally, Virgin's joined one of these mega groups.
You were always kind
So
of
exciting,
allied
isn't it?
with those guys, Delta and stuff. But
Oh, yeah, we used to have an individual thing
special.
with Delta.
Oh.
In fact, we
Yeah,
used to have your
coaches.
girlies on board. They were good fun.
the girlies.
Really?
Well,
They're no
yeah,
good fun with
our,
us.
our sort of regulations and the sort of mixing we did was completely different to their to Delta, and they used to love it. They used to come on the flight deck and sit and chat and have a coffee and whatever, and they used to go out in the evenings with us.
What?
Yeah,
Are you sure they were Delta?
that well, they were wearing a uniform.
You had a crew go out with you recently, Jeff. Didn't you?
Yeah,
You
every
all
now
went
and
out
then.
together.
I guess in the international world, it's much more common.
Yeah, but you did
Not the
recently.
domestic. Yeah. Yeah, I have a few times. What was I going to do? Oh, I was going to load up that.
By the
thing.
way, your muff's showing.
Yeah,
I
it's a
know.
nice new one.
You're murking.
Hope you like it. I am an American and proud of it.
Actually, that
Yeehaw!
merkin is ideal for you because it's exactly the right color, right amount of grey in there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see.
Oh yeah.
Okay, there's really no
Count the suitcases. 1, 2, 3,
Yep.
4, 5.
Sliding through the foam.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
Gotta love it. Things are the same worldwide.
Yeah, I know.
So
But,
did you write me a little spiel, Stephen?
Yep.
Or just-
You want me to just send it in here?
Okay.
The
Put
chat,
it
or you want me to
in-
text it
Oh,
to you?
can we do a little chat group, Liz, with Steve and Ivy in there?
Oh yeah. Yep. I'll do that.
Do you have his
Let me see if I've got his.
info?
I'm not sure. I might have.
I'll text you real quick, Liz, so I don't have to say it in front of everybody.
Starts with 500.
The middle number is 500. Yeah.
Yeah. 770
Yeah,
is the area
yep,
code.
yep,
Okay. Yep.
yep.
All right.
And if y'all can guess
Cool.
the rest of that, I will be very surprised.
I can.
Oh,
Okay, so she's putting it
Yeah.
putting that together, and we'll use that as our group communication.
okay.
And
Here we go.
okay,
All right. I just sent it to all of you guys.
Okay.
beautiful. Hello. Okay. Oh, and you're set with the Evernote stuff, Stephen?
Yes, it's working.
Okay. So are you gonna send that?
Yeah,
And-
I just
okay.
texted it to you. You want to do it in that group chat?
Yeah.
Okay. I can do that.
Or no, I can do that from here. Never mind.
Okay.
Surprise Nick and I.
Okay. And we go over here. Okay, we're just about ready. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Forgive me, shock.
What's going on there?
Oh, sorry, just the handle of my chair got caught under the table as I leant back, and then all of a
Don't
sudden
be punching
it went-
Windsor Castle there behind you.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. I saw where his new cipher was released. What they're going to use. for
yes,
his
it's
cipher.
his new logo.
Yes, exactly.
That'll be
I'm sure.
everywhere soon.
I'm sure Jim Mercado worked on it for him. So.
I'm sure he did.
What are you talking about?
Well,
the
like
new-
on
well, you know,
post boxes and stuff like that. They
E2R
E2R.
was the Queen's.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So
And
now he's
now,
got CR.
We need a C3R.
Mm-hmm.
And someone on the TV this morning actually was saying, "Oh, I don't know if he should have chosen Rex instead of Regina." And I'm going,
What?
well, he's a
a
bloke.
man.
well, yeah.
Exactly.
obviously has no idea. I do wonder about these.
Although there's some movie out now, or coming out, called The Woman King or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I thought, have
Yeah.
you seen that? And I was sort of like,
I-
why are they doing that? Like,
I
isn't
saw
a
a
woman king a
trailer.
queen? Woman king's a queen, isn't it?
Well,
Anyway.
I guess it used to be.
Yes, it
Yes.
could.
Who knows in this world? But we're
Well,
in.
be something else nowadays.
I
what
guess.
it
I don't
is.
know. Anyway, we won't go there.
Everybody's crazy. Okay.
How you doing,
Alrighty
Jeffrey?
then.
Are we ready
I
to
think we're
roll?
ready.
Powerfully hopped, bottle conditioned. Yum, yum.
Sounds good. Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm a little handicapped.
Did you forget your wheelchair?
I tried to sit in one the other day, getting off the aircraft, and they said, no, sir, this is not for you.
I remember
Man, I
I
wish
went
I
up.
could get your sound better, Stephen.
I'd buggered
really
my
sounds like a
Achilles
computer mic.
at one point, and we were over in
Because it's like picking
Dubai,
up all the...
and there's the corridor to get from our sort of terminal to the main terminal. That's about 1.5 miles long, and so I
Somebody
sauntered up
push
to
you?
this. Yeah, I just sauntered up to this guy with one of these electric buggies.
Oh, yeah.
And said, I've got a very sore foot. Can you give me a lift to the other end of this huge corridor? And he looked at me and went, no. So,
Okay.
come on.
Try it again.
Jeff, is there any setting in StreamYard that Stephen could make to...
I
Oh, you did. Okay, you did.
just did change something in the settings. Say something, Stephen.
Hello. Is this any
Sounds
better?
good, actually. Yeah, it does
That's a
sound
little
better.
bit better.
I
mean-
unplugged it and plugged it back in. So
Did you de-echo him?
And I can't tell from my controls if you in the StreamYard settings you do have the USB mic selected.
yeah,
His
it's
microphone.
USB PNP device.
Okay.
Oh, that
That's sounding
sounds
better.
a little better.
I think he sounds pretty good, actually, right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your haircut hasn't changed, but the voice is better.
And you know, it very well could be my internet too, or is it not? Is it actual
No.
audio?
No, it
Nope.
was more than that. It was
Okay.
like I could almost tell what Marcy was saying, and she's
There's
in
the
the other room.
ambient sound, but not getting that
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
All right.
Excuse me.
Ready,
Hi there,
Freddie?
me man, my car.
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Okay, let's hit it.
Got a time? Okay,
Yep.
ready?
Got it.
Go ahead and throw it up there, and I'll hit the thing.
You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 538.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show, the view from our side of the cockpit door. With your host, Captain Jeff, broadcasting live from Studio 1A at former APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded on the 25th of September, 2022.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy. Picture light is flying by with the Airline Pilot Guy.
In today's episode, Republic Airways fails to get the FAA to lower hiring standards for first officers, the standards put in place following a 2009 crash. The landing gear collapses as a flight lands in the Congo. More news, your feedback, and today's plane tale. So get all settled in, tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions, electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 538 is ready for pushback.
That he is, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining us from his studio
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire.
Professional photographer, former RAF, RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways, now a Sky Team member. It's Captain Stan.
We're lovely to be back on the show, Jeff, after a suitable period of mourning for our dear departed Queen. We now have a king in charge. Can't wait to tell you all about that.
Long live the king.
He shall, I'm sure.
Yes, and also joining us from his home studio in Carrollton, Georgia. He's a pilot at a Part 135 charter company. He's actually really so much more. It's our good friend, big APG community member, Stephen Ivey.
Hey, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well.
We are. I can't wait to get all caught up with you, Stephen.
Oh, yes. So many exciting things.
He has so many exciting things. And also, a place to stand, a place to grow. Of course, from our studio in Toronto, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Great to have Stephen on the show.
Yeah, that's great. And
that was a
speaking of great,
good job.
Let's cover some great news.
See you later, guys. Have a good one.
All right, Liz.
Stand by for news.
All right, let's start off with an update. NTSB and U.S. Navy will recover the wreckage of the DHC-3 turbine Beaver that crashed off Whidbey Island in Washington State. The National Transportation Safety Board, they'll recover the wreckage of the DHC-3 turbine Otter that crashed on September 4. Wait a minute, is it a turbine Otter or a turbine Beaver? I'm seeing.
I was going to ask you that, since I'm not an expert in those kind of airplanes.
I think it's a turbine Otter, because I think I called it a twin Otter before, and you guys said, no, it's a turbine Otter.
Yeah, okay. That bit I remember.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering why the headline has the wrong... Oh, well. No.
Well,
it's a headline.
It's the media. They don't know how to identify aircraft.
Well, it's from the darn NTSB. That's their headline.
Well, that is true, yes.
That is troubling.
Perhaps they've just got beavers on the brain.
Oh, well, don't we all? All right. The investigation and preparations for recovery are ongoing. The main recovery effort to raise the wreckage is expected to begin on September 26, which was yesterday. The U.S. Navy will use a remotely operated vehicle, ROV, Deep Drone 8000, a barge, and a crane to recover the wreckage from the seafloor. Once the barge is outfitted and in place, it will be a 24/7 operation. The crane will lift the aircraft wreckage pieces. The ROV will work on the seafloor, collecting smaller pieces of wreckage into baskets and connecting the wreckage to the crane to be lifted. The NTSB also released today the preliminary report for the investigation. The report contains facts only. The NTSB will determine the probable cause of the crash and the type of aircraft at the end of the investigation. According to the preliminary report, thank you, the aircraft departed from Friday. I'll be here all week.
Well done.
The aircraft departed from Friday Harbor, Washington, around 2:50 p.m. Pacific time, with a destination of Renton Municipal Airport. At 3:09 p.m., the aircraft impacted the water and sank. The pilot and 9 passengers were fatally injured. Let's see. Witnesses near the accident site reported the airplane was in level flight before it entered a slight climb, then pitched down in a near vertical descent. Several witnesses described the airplane spinning, rotating, or spiraling during portions of the descent. The NTSB coordinated with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's NOAA Navigation Response Team, and the University of Washington's Applied Physics Laboratory to locate the wreckage in Mutiny Bay. A sonar survey located the main wreckage and debris field, or debris field, at a depth of approximately 190 feet. Information contained in the report is preliminary and subject to change as the investigation progresses. So, there is your update on that, the Beaver or the Otter crash in Mutiny Bay. So,
yeah, not much to say really.
No.
We just know things are progressing.
Yep. All right. Next item. This is from BuffaloNews.com. I assume that's Buffalo, New York. Yeah, it is. The FAA rejects airlines' request to turn back Flight 3407 reforms and hire less experienced pilots. Let's see. Attempts by a regional airline to weaken rules on pilot training inspired by the victims of the Flight 3407 crash have failed. That's a big win for the victims' families and the travelers they aim to protect, the family said Monday. When 50 people were killed in the Continental Flight 3407 plane crash in Clarence, New York, close to the Buffalo airport, the victims' family members got to work ensuring nothing like it would ever happen again. Their advocacy resulted in rule changes that would make flying safer by imposing more stringent pilot training requirements. But their efforts were threatened recently when Republic Airways sought to gut one of its provisions and allow airlines facing a pilot shortage to hire co-pilots with half the usual minimum amount of flying experience. But that move has been rejected by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration. The families commended the FAA for their decision. These requirements have been the cornerstone of a package of regional airline safety reforms that have led to over 13 years without a fatal crash on a U.S. commercial carrier, by far and away the safest period in the skies that our country has experienced, the family said in a statement. Goes on to a little bit remind us the 3407 crash and the issues that, both pilots had, but mainly the captain. Low experience and a record of check ride busts and stuff like that. And there was really no effective way back then for someone who went from airline to airline for the airlines to see any of this type of data. And now they've made some headway in making that more transparent, harder for somebody to hide something. Main man Micah says in our live audience, except the 1,500-hour rule has absolutely nothing to do with the Colgan Air crash that you're talking about. Yeah, so it all had to be sleep schedules, traveling from the West Coast to a base on the East Coast. Yes, I agree, main man Micah. that was something that they didn't touch, was the fact that this guy, the captain, commuted all the way from the West Coast. And I'm not even sure if he had any kind of a rest period after he commuted all the way across the United States. And hello? I don't know. Okay. Did you have something to say, Stephen? Maybe that was from you?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think it's kind of a twofold thing Micah was talking about. The 1,500-hour rule, I think it was one of those things where the FAA had a bunch of rulemaking that they were all lumped into one because of that. So it was the 1,500-hour rule that rolled into there, additional training about stalls and tailplane stall that really wasn't covered before then. And then like what you talked about, the additional record keeping that actually didn't take effect till like last year, I believe. And if that was the case, it would have prevented that Atlas crash from the FO that, broke the connection link in the control column on that 767 that crashed in Houston. So in all actuality, it really didn't do anything for anybody other than just cause people to do a lot more flying before they get to an airline, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying that. It's just, I don't think really focus on it didn't focus on what the actual problem was, which is people commuting from the West Coast or from anywhere that are off duty, not getting paid to get to work, which is a big thing at most airlines. So
yeah.
You were someone who had to go through that 1,500-hour problem to gain the experience to get your licenses. you've got an ideal perspective to look back on this and say, was this a reasonable thing for Republic to have asked for? What do you reckon, Stephen?
Well, I don't want to say that it's not unreasonable. I mean, the flying that I did the survey, I just was flying back and forth VFR. I was doing a lot of hand flying. To say that my experience is less beneficial than someone that went through a college program and did, flight instruction, that their experience is any better. I mean, who's to say one's better than the other? It's all about your actual real world flying experience and how you apply yourself when you actually do get to an airline, and how well you go through training, how well you are acceptive of airline procedures and everything. I mean, you could take someone off the street, and if you maybe just did nothing but airline training for them from the start, they'd probably be better off than I was when I hit 1,500 hours. But it's all about someone's actual experience and their flying. It's not, I don't really think the hours has a lot to do with it. That's, I think that's why they gave special reductions to people that were in the military that could come out. I think it was 700 guys that went through a college 750, yeah. And then guys that went through a college program are 1,000. So, I mean,
depending on whether it's a 4-year or 2-year.
Yes, it's a 4-year program you have to go through and everything. So, I mean, I felt like, my survey flying has helped me out a lot, especially when it comes to hand flying approaches. Because that's all I was really doing was flying a ILS localizer track all day. So it's helped me out a lot with my hand flying skills. But outside of that, I can't really say that the 1,500 hours flying a Cessna around has benefited me that much, when it came to multi-engine transport category aircraft. So I think there's a lot of
the
different
other
ways
thing
to
is
look at it.
they wanted to replace the 1,500 hour limit with a course that would have reduced the flight experience to the same as someone who was ex-military, Jeff. So I know what our training was like. Do you think Republic's proposed training scheme would really have produced someone of the capability of an ex-military pilot?
No, I think that they're more impressed with their own training program than they should be. I'm sure it's fine, but to slash the 1,500 hour requirement in half just because you go through their special program, is kind of ridiculous in a way, I think. And I'm glad that the FAA said nope. Now, I think we should continue to look at that whole 1,500 hour rule, completely, honestly, but just making an exception to it because you go through Republic's streamlined course, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And to compare the Republic's Lift program with military training is almost too ridiculous to even consider. I Haul Boxes in our live audience says, the drinking experience of an ex-military pilot, Nick? Yeah, well, the drinking experience definitely, I think that is important.
That arms you well for the civilian world, yes.
Yeah.
And, one other thing with that 1,500 hour rule I just remembered too, part of that is you have to go through an ATP, CTP course that was mandated from that too, which is essentially learning how jets operate and the characteristics that you experience with jets as it comes to doing stalls and things like that too. That was something else that got added that. So you have to complete that course before you actually start your IOE at your airline if you don't have your ATP already.
Yeah.
So.
And I mentioned this before. We have one of our APG community members that not only went through this program at Republic as a student, but he also was an instructor for that program for a while before he left. And last thing we heard from Louisiana Steve, a.k.a. Indianapolis Steve, I'm not sure what he's calling himself anymore. He was a jumper dumper, like Dr. Steph, somewhere in Iowa, I believe, or something. Somewhere up there. Up that way. But I asked him, about the hand flying, manual flying skills, automation, that kind of thing. And he said, no, they almost immediately just slap the autopilot on and hardly ever get any hand flying. And I'm thinking, well, why? Why did they want to do it like that? And they said, well, that's the way you're going to do, that's the way you're going to do it in the airlines. That's the way they do it. So that's why we're teaching it this way. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I would.
Someone's got the wrong end of the stick there. We're trying hard to persuade people not to do that, to do the exact opposite and hand fly the airplane when they get an opportunity.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
interesting, though, the statistics, don't lie. It's been an incredibly safe period for American carriers. So I wonder what they put that down to if it's not down to the 1,500 hours.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are many other factors. Yeah,
I'm sure there are.
The APG. Thank you, Liz. You're right. It's got to be it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's got to be it. Okay. Let's roll on to this next one. An accident in Equa B-190 at Pointe Noire on September 19th, 2022. Gear collapse on landing. There's some pictures of it in our video. An Equaflight Service Beach 1900C registration Tango November Alpha India, Quebec. Performing flight 512 from Brazzaville to Point...
Brazzaville! 1, 2, 3, calling Brazzaville!
Brazzaville! All aboard!
I've spent hours shouting out that name.
I haven't even spent a whole minute shouting
and
that
they never seem to answer. You just plow through their airspace regardless.
Okay. They were going from Brazzaville to Pointe Noire's runway 17 after sunset when the right hand... That's the problem, after sunset. When the right hand main gear collapsed, causing the aircraft to veer right before coming to a stop. There were no injuries.
I think it's because they were landing in that ice flow.
Yeah, that might have something to do with it. Yeah. We're looking at this.
Are you sure that's Africa? It looks like the Arctic to me.
It does. Yeah,
got the right pictures, Jeff.
Right about that picture. I thought I got it from the article. By the way, I should mention it's from the Aviation Herald website.
Maybe that's seafoam, like salt on the land, maybe.
Oh, could be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is. Maybe they foamed the runway or something.
Yeah, it's water. That's what it is. It's seafoam.
Seafoam. Oh, not the special firefighting foam, but near the water. Oh,
no, I don't think they're going to have special firefighting foam. They might have some foam.
Yeah. Well, that's true. It's probably more like the sea, as you said, seafoam. Okay. There were no injuries. The aircraft sustained substantial damage, however. The aircraft had been chartered by an oil company to bring the body of an employee who died in Morocco and the family home.
Oh, great.
Welcome home.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Let's see. Pointe Noire's runway 17 features an ILS, runway 35, an RNAV, or VOR DME approach.
So they were on 17 flying the ILS, so
yeah,
that should have worked.
Yeah.
I thought they were.
Okay. Let's
Runways
see.
17 features an ILS, and they landed on runway 17 with a tailwind by the looks of it, or certainly a bit of crosswind.
Yeah. Let's see. Well, at the time, it looks like it was blowing out of the south and southwest a little bit. 209.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of a different instant. We're about to come on to that. Sorry about that.
Okay.
No, yeah, that's a headwind.
Yeah. Let's see.
So that's right. That is good viz.
I don't know. Maybe just a weakened main landing gear system. Maybe some hard landings in the past. It just kind of gave up. We don't know really much else about this, do we?
No, I'm glad no one else was injured. There was one dead body on board, but I think they got on board dead.
I think it was already dead.
Does that count as a second fatality?
Yeah,
well, already dead.
Only the autopsy will tell.
Oh, well, it's good that we can have fun with people who have died.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Well, people are going to have fun with us when we're dead, so...
That's true.
Yeah.
We won't expect anything less.
No.
very disappointed.
If you can make it to my wake, you'll find a barrel of beer. A free barrel of beer is going to be put on. Yeah.
Hey, not that I'm hoping that you'll be gone soon, Nick, but
but that's 188 pints of free beer.
Cheers. I'll drink to that. Okay. Next item. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying my video was acting up. I got you. Okay, play the video, Jeff. Here we go. Should I play that? Okay, I'll put that while I'm talking about the incident. Is it this one? Add to stream. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay. Thank you. Oh, okay, go ahead. Put it in and make sure the volume is kind of down low. There you go. Okay. From the Aviation Herald. An Air India Express Boeing 737-800, registration Victor Tango Alpha X-Ray Zulu. You might want to play it again. That was short. Performing flight 442 from Muscat, Oman, to Kochi, India, with 145 passengers, was accelerating for takeoff from Muscat's runway 8 left at about 11:35 local time when the crew rejected a takeoff at low speed, about 40 knots over the ground. Yeah, very low speed. Due to a right-hand engine, CFM56, fire indication. The crew slowed the aircraft and vacated the runway via the next high-speed turnoff about 1,800 meters or 6,000 feet down the runway and stopped clear of the runway on the adjacent taxiway. An emergency evacuation via slides followed, along with many, many passengers carrying their baggage during the evacuation. 14 passengers are reported to have sustained injuries during the evacuation. So, as I was reading that, we were watching the video on the video podcast. So, any things to mention there, Captain Nick, about your impression?
Yes, he's just failed his line check.
Oh, no.
Well, no, I don't know about that, but I would, if that had been my line check, I think I'd have failed. Yeah. Because the check captain would probably have tapped me on the shoulder and asked me why, following a rejection at 40 knots, why I then taxied 6,000 feet down the runway in order to taxi off with an engine fire. So I'm going, what? Why? Why is he taxied all the way down, probably halfway down the runway? I don't know how long the total runway length is, but significant distance. And it can't have been, it's not quick. And taxied clear with an engine fire. So don't like that decision. I agree. My feeling is you stop straight away, take the actions. If you're going to evacuate on the runway right there and then. Don't mess about. You know very easily in past cases how a fire can take hold. Although he looks like he's going faster than... Oh, no, that's a different airplane. Sorry. Just got confused for a second there. Yeah. I don't understand what the logic was there. Perhaps someone can explain it to me.
I don't know. Maybe Stephen can explain it. What was he doing there, Stephen?
I mean, maybe he thought that he needed to get off and that was the most available taxiway. But I mean, I don't know why you, like Nick was saying, just stop and run the QRH and get out of there. Like, if you got a fire, why you want to diddle daddle to get off the runway? Like, it's a perfectly good piece of pavement. Just get off the plane.
Maybe the firehouse was on that end of the runway and thinking, we'll meet them.
Or he wanted to give time for everybody to get their bags off. So he got off the runway so they'd have more space and everything. Maybe
you're a cruel man, Stephen Ivy. You're a cruel man. Yes, but you're quite right. That's another good point.
Okay.
Yes. So, I'm glad no one was hurt other than the 14 passengers who hurt themselves going down the slides, probably because they fell over their damn roller bags or left their shoes on or something. Yeah. I think we really do need to re-educate the travelling public as to how to conduct an evacuation safely, despite all the fancy videos we get which feature celebrities and stars from around the world and are turned into cartoons and everything to remove them from reality. What we actually need to do, I think, is center these things back on the hard facts of how to survive an evacuation and make sure that they take center stage in our safety videos, and then add fripperies on, after you've got the point made. So the point is, this is for your safety. This is how to get off the airplane quickly. Don't mess about. You could die if we end up with another. The big one in the UK was the Manchester air disaster, where a 737, the number 9 combustor, exploded and started a fire, and about half the people on board couldn't get off. And all they did was to stop very close to a taxiway, so the guy just swung the airplane off the runway onto the taxiway and then came to a complete halt. By that time the fire had become so intense it had taken complete hold of the airplane, and huge number of the passengers on board, proportion of the passengers on board, were killed. It was a big learning lesson for us here in the UK. I wish that the rest of the world would review that and take it back on board.
Yeah, good point.
Along with just videos on how to evacuate, there just needs to be an airline to do just general videos for airport and onboard and aircraft etiquette. I don't know what it was this past week, but it was I kept getting kneed in the shoulder by people walking by in the aisle. I almost had a bag dropped on me a couple times. And then I don't know, it's the general public just has forgotten how to behave as a decent human being in an airport, or maybe it's just me, or is it more than me?
It's like the social media even seems to be an amplification system for bad manners right now, because as soon as you see someone being recorded who's displayed had a meltdown or whatever, it's so many other people see it, and there's got to be a proportion of people who now think that's normal behavior and copy their really poor behavior. I think it would be really nice if we could see videos of people being really pleasant to each other, to re-educate the public on to what is acceptable. But I'm an old man, so don't listen to me.
No, well, I'm an old man too, and I agree with you 100%. I think that a lot of it may be that bad parenting. They're not teaching kids proper etiquette and manners. I think there are people out there, even young people, that still have manners, that still look at you in the eye when they're walking off the airplane and thank you for the flight and all that. Yeah. It's not that difficult
doing your
to
job
do.
well.
I feel that sometimes it's because they just don't know that they're supposed to do that.
Well, yeah. I can understand why you say bad parenting to a degree, but when we're all adults, we can relearn. We can reteach ourselves how to behave properly by following the example of people who we admire. And I think there's enough people to be admired in the world. People perhaps pick the wrong role models, but
right.
Yeah.
Tony Smith in the live audience says they have taken all the screens out of most of the European routes so that they have gone back to the live demos by the cabin crew. Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. I mean, they're all live demos on the airplane that I fly because, again, there are no entertainment screens on the Boeing 717.
Good point. I always think of, international carriers, so,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where you've got all the fancy stuff.
What's that? Does somebody have an open mic? Is that Marcy, Steven?
No, I don't think so.
Seems to have broken into the intercom system.
So,
and continues to make
let's hear some more of that. Oh wait, I didn't know that there was all this stuff on the video here. Okay, we're going to listen a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a prank, yeah.
I guess okay, so I'd hope to have a little bit more fun with that. So I heard this somewhere. I don't recall now where, but apparently it's just American Airlines, as far as I can tell. and certain flights in the last half a year, on the PA system, they're hearing these sounds, these noises. Here, I'll start from the beginning again. Okay, so it's being broadcast over the PA system aboard these flights, and I think most of them have happened when the aircraft was in the air, so not on the ground, and they can't seem to figure out where it's coming, how this is happening, and there are a few theories if you go to some websites discussing this of exactly how the pranksters or hackers were able to do this thing, but I just thought that was kind of odd, and it's odd because I don't think any other airline has experienced this problem but American Airlines. I'm wondering if it's some just very, very smart IT person that works on the in-flight music or in-flight entertainment systems or something.
But that's an independent system from the PA. That's the PA system on the aircraft, though. So my guess is it's the same guy that does the meowing on guard, and he just doesn't know how to use the RTU, and he's just bumping the PA switch. But that's my guess.
It's the same guy that not only does the meowing, but also guard.
There's an annual conference in the United States, I think, where hackers get together, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's
Black Hat, I think.
Black Hat.
Black Hat, yeah. And for years now, there have been a number of hackers that claim that they can hack into various aircraft systems. And they claim that everyone's, of course, concerned that they will be able to make an airplane turn around, land, take off, do something stupid. But of course, there really is no physical connection between anything on the aircraft and the flight control system. So that's incredibly remote. But the vulnerable area are the entertainment systems, which includes the PA. And if you've got Wi-Fi connected through your entertainment system that the passengers can access, there is a back channel possibly where you could gain access to the PA system. It's not a, it's a flight safety system, yes, but it's not one that we would associate with the stuff the pilots do on the flight deck. So it's not necessarily going to have the same firewall as the rest of the aircraft systems. I'm just thinking off the back of my fag packet here, if I smoked, but I don't. That this might be a hacker who's managed to get into this area, and the fact it's only one airline, I'm going, well, okay, if he's hacked that code, then that it might be restricted to that airline. But if I had managed to gain access to the PA system by hacking it, I wouldn't just make that noise. I'd do something really funny. I bet I'd do something epic. Exactly. I'd try and do an advert or something, and well, you try and make some monetize it perhaps, or certainly make it sound better than that. So
just drop your handles. Just drop all your social media handles.
The chances are that perhaps someone's just found a way to reach round to the cabin crew's PA telephone thing and just grabbed it and making a few silly noises and then hung up again. That would be my guess.
That would be a very simple explanation. But I think that some in-depth articles regarding this have said that that they have ruled that out because they saw where all the handsets were and they were still hearing the noise. I don't know. I'm not sure what the heck is going on. But thank you, John Motazetti, who sent that in. He's the CEO of SNC Squared, a network doctor company. Cool. We have CEOs listening to our podcast. Amazing. Thank you, John.
A network doctor company.
Yeah. So, you here we always want to make sure that we are in the the doctor is in the network. I don't know if that has anything to do with a network doctor company, but
I'm just thinking: is he a medical doctor on the network?
I don't know. I'm assuming,
or is he someone who wants to doctor the network?
Oh. You're saying that he's the one that's responsible for this.
Well, he could be, because he's saying, well, I've got the cure for this. Yeah, I can stop people hacking into your PA system.
We're on to you, John. He's just played us, I think, on this on our show. All right. Anyway, I just wanted to make sure that we got that in there, and thank you, John, for sending that. And,
set the actress to the bishop.
Okay. 1E, this is accident, an Aeronaves, TSM Swearingen SA-227 Metro 3rd, Metro 3, registration X-Ray Alpha Uniform Mike Whiskey, performing freight flight VTM 717 from Saltillo, Mexico to Laredo, Texas with 2 crew. Departed Saltillo's runway 35, or 35, reaching about 800 feet above ground level, when their crew needed to initiate a forced landing in an open field north of the airport due to problems and vibrations with the right-hand engine and loss of power. The aircraft touched down about 4,500 meters, which is 15,000 feet, or 2.4 nautical miles north of the runway end. The crew was taken to a hospital as a precaution, but was released without injuries. The aircraft sustained substantial damage. The crew reported there were problems with the right-hand engine. It no longer responded and began to vibrate. Authorities report the aircraft was airborne for about 3 minutes. Both occupants escaped the forced landing without injuries. And then we were looking at some of the pictures in the video regarding this accident. Yeah, it did a lot of damage. Substantial damage, I would say, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I'm curious, what kind of carrier would this have been?
It is a Mexican cargo carrier, and I believe they transport car parts, because I've seen the Metroliners around the U.S., or especially around the southwest, do a pretty good bit.
So my next question is, what are the regulations with regard to single-engine performance for this Metro 3?
I was sitting here trying to figure that out too, Nick.
Good man. Yeah. Carry on.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going with this, don't you?
Yeah, because I don't know if that particular model Metroliner is transport category or not, that it would need that single-engine performance, because I'll have to look. I'm not sure, though.
Okay. All right. It's a shame that it only managed 3 minutes, though, after an engine failure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of odd that they couldn't at least maintain altitude. Of course, it looked like they were in a little bit of a valley there, so I'm not sure on that.
Yes, Liz. She said it is a San Antonio sewer pipe. The Swearingen Metro. That's the nice little complimentary nickname.
Now, Jeff, in your
Boxes has a not quite so nice name.
I've already done a sewer pipe show title image.
So I'm wondering if it's more than just the engine failed. Maybe there was something wrong with the propeller system and it not feathering, or
it might be.
They said excessive vibration, and
even if the housing has broken off now, that could easily have been with the impact of landing. But the engine on the right hand side, that one of those pictures shows it is actually snapped clear.
Yeah.
The other engine looks like it was perhaps under power, Jeff, because all the blades have been ripped off. You know, you're the expert when it comes to analyzing crashes.
Well, I'm not an expert anymore, but
you did more courses on it than I did.
Yeah, that's true. Usually, what you look for are the blades and the curling kind of a pattern on the blades, whether or not they were producing power or not. But the blades are pretty much gone.
They've all snapped off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's the problem. Perhaps his blades were a bit short.
Yeah, they need to be longer blades.
Okay.
I Haul Boxes in our live audience says Metros have a history of flipping over after engine failures. Not entirely sure why, though. Go ahead, Steve.
Nick, is it FAR 23 that certifies the single engine performance, or is that just the standard manufacturing certification? I can't remember.
I think it's 23, and then I think there's a part 25 as well. That I'm not sure what the difference is, though.
Yeah, so the Model 3 was just certified with, it looks like, FAR 23 with some special amendments to it. So that's all. And then FAR 36, which looks like an updated regulation. But
where's Miami Rick when you need him?
Yeah, that's what I was sitting here thinking.
We'd have listened to him for half an hour and we still wouldn't know the answer.
And we still wouldn't know the answer. Yeah, exactly.
And we just nod our heads like,
Yeah, well, we'd have been asleep.
Anything else to
But
add?
it's just a shame that, okay, I understand you get an engine failure, vibration, whatever, and it's nasty, but if the other one's still going, 3 minutes staying airborne is not very long.
Yeah. Maybe they were overloaded with car parts or something,
You see, that's what I as soon as I go, all right, they're from a country probably not renowned for its levels of flight safety. I think possibly that. Laredo, isn't that where the singing cowboy came from?
It could be.
Which one?
Oh, okay. I don't know. I'm assuming Jeff knows because he was brought up singing. And he's a bit of a cowboy.
Yeah, I'm a little bit of a cowboy, and I, my expertise is in cowboy songs. Apparently, that's not true. I don't know.
Perhaps Liz can look up the cowboy. Or actually, we've got Mayman Micah in the chat room. He'll tell us if there's a cowboy song about Laredo.
Laredo. I know there's one about El Paso.
The streets of Laredo. There you go. Laredo. Perhaps you can sing us a bit of that before the end of the show, Jeff.
Okay. No, that's not it, Liz.
Oh, what was she trying to get you to sing?
Is it really? Oh, it sounded like you were saying, no, 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 so I don't know the words. Anyway. Yeah, okay, so you were using that tune. Okay, gotcha.
So all I'm suggesting is that there were cowboys coming back to Laredo, and they were probably singing a lot. But
yeah,
there you go. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeehaw. Okay, you were saying yeehaw a lot, which would be like this.
Yeehaw! Yeah. They're the boys.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. Next item, almost last item in our news segment. An incident, a swift Boeing 737-400 freighter on behalf of West Atlantic, Sweden, registration Echo Charlie November Lima Sierra, performing flight 5745 from Paris, Charles de Gaulle to Montpellier, France, with 3 crew, landed on Montpellier's runway 12 left, but overran the end of the runway and came to a stop with the nose gear already in the water around 200 meters or 650 feet past the runway end. There were no injuries. The aircraft received minor, if any, damage, but was wet. No, but was immobilized. Yes. The airport reported the aircraft's front part, the nose, is partially submerged in the Latang de Maguao. How do you say that?
Which is a really good way to treat the avionics bay, which is the bit that's underwater.
Yeah. Nothing that you can hurt up there.
No, nothing at all. Nothing electrical that's going to really get wrecked.
Well, let's see. The runway, 8,530 feet long by 14. I guess that's meters, maybe, width. That's interesting. They use feet for the length, but the meters for the width. That's
it's French for you. Oh.
Always try to confuse us. Let's see. Winds were 360 at 21 knots. What runway was this?
Yeah. This is the one. This is the one with the tailwind, or possibly with the tailwind. 12. Runway 12. Yeah.
Oh, and plus RA, which means heavy rain.
Yep. BR is what? Mist.
Mist.
Debut rain. Yeah.
Barely raining.
Barely raining.
It's some French word that means mist.
Yeah. Vertical V's. Towering Q.
Vicinity, towering, or thunderstorms in the vicinity. I think that's what that means.
There you go.
800 scattered, 1,500 broken.
I'm guessing nowadays it's been so long.
Becoming 360 at 10. So it looks like the wind was starting to die down a little bit. But in any event, as Captain Nick makes the point, why are you landing on a runway with a huge tailwind like that?
Yeah. 8,500 feet isn't bad. It's it depends.
Well, so it's an asphalt runway that's not grooved either, so it's truly wet. So
slippery.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. We don't know what kind of speed they were flying. They might have been,
or where they landed at,
or where they touched down.
A lot of facts to come out, but of course we're all suspicious of a bit of a float, landing deep, landing fast.
Well, it said, oh, never mind, that's where they ended up. I thought that was 650 feet. That's the touchdown. No, they ended up 650 feet on the wrong end of the runway. Never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Part of the runway that's in the water.
And they did a reasonable distance off the end of it. It's not like they just trickle a few feet. They've got a reasonable way off the end of the runway.
You might, if you're going to do it, Nick, you may as well just really do
650 feet past.
Just go.
So they turned the 8,500 foot runway into at least a 9,000 foot runway. In fact, 9,180 foot runway.
What wasn't there? Another 7.3 that went off in Jacksonville at Craig, and they kind of did the same thing.
It was Jacksonville. Season.
Oh yeah, it was the air station. That's right.
Or Jacksonville Naval Air Station, whatever.
Well, you can understand people going into the water at a naval air station. I mean, that kind of goes with the territory, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But no, I was just thinking it's very reminiscent of that because they were landing in a thunderstorm and it was raining really bad and they missed the touchdown zone by a good bit, if I remember.
Yep.
Yeah.
Main man Micah says, if I remember
they
correctly,
have history.
Oh, this is the second West Atlantic 737 accident within the past 18 months.
Ouch.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but it says a Swift Air. Swift Air's a U.S. operator.
Yeah,
right.
And I think that was the company.
Oh yeah, they're operating on behalf of West Atlantic.
Yeah.
And wasn't Swift Air the one that did actually go off the runway in Jacksonville?
That was Miami Air International.
Oh, Miami Air. Okay.
Yeah.
Something Air. Oh, it's Spanish. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
I love the bit where it says aircraft received minor, if any, damage. So good. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'm sure the insurers are going to agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike is right. They had another incident in 2016.
Well, hey, what do you think we end the news segment with kind of a positive, not a crash?
Is that
Let's
possible?
just go back 80 years, shall we?
So, here in the United States, a new branch of the military was established called Space Force. Space Force. And apparently they've been working hard on coming up with a song, an official song. Well, Space Force has now unveiled its official song. Do y'all want to hear it?
Yes, please.
All right, here we go.
Yes, please.
Semper Super. With a mind to watch the line. Guardians beyond the moon. Invisible front line. Warfighters, brave and true. Boldly reaching into space. There's no limit to No, to our sky. Standing guard both night and day. We're the Space Force from on high. Oh.
Ta-da!
Yay!
Love it. Lovely. Now, how did they manage to dig up old Sousa and get him to compose that one?
It sounds very Sousa-esque, for sure.
Yes.
Especially those little piccolos.
Oh, absolutely. The whole arrangement, the whole thing is like taking me back to halfway through the last, in fact, earlier than that, probably somewhere around the 1920s, I would have thought.
Mm-hmm. You weren't even born in the 20s.
Yeah, but I've listened to all the music.
I was instantly disappointed. I was expecting the Star Wars or Star Trek theme.
Yeah, you see, they could have made it full of pizzazz and ultra techy and
synthesizers and
it would be great.
Orchestra and
could have got John Williams to have done it. You know, it could have been all Star Wars. That would have.
There's also another video that we're not going to play because it's just not that exciting, but it's a behind-the-scenes video of how the song was developed and written. And we'll include that in the show notes if you're curious at all regarding that.
Was it at a bar? Like they sat down at the bar and learned it out?
No, you do need to see that, how it was developed and written, because the two guys that, sort of did it, one did the arrangement, one wrote the words and everything, they are just so, happy to have been given this opportunity. And they're completely, on cloud nine with their song. So I feel it's going to be a bit of a shame if they get, brought down in flames. By some satellite killing missile.
Speaking of that, it's not in our news lineup, but it just happened last night, and it's sort of aviation related, but it's more space related. The NASA launched this satellite that basically went careening through. Do you careen through space?
Yeah, I think you can, yeah.
And
I had a Ford Carina. It careened.
What's that?
I had a Ford Carina.
Oh,
I think it was was it a Toyota Carina? It careened around everywhere.
Parts of it careened everywhere. Anyway, the satellite was aimed, and it was like over 1 million miles away, I think, right, Steve?
It's damn good shot, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it actually... Yeah, it was I don't know, how big was that? Brent was asking me today.
That's what she said.
Oh,
pretty small.
It was not big. It was only a few hundred meters across. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a little satellite of a bigger asteroid, wasn't it? Yeah. And they didn't go for the big asteroid. They went for the tiny little one, and they bonked it right on the nose. I was very impressed.
525 feet across. So
there you go. I mean, that is a hell of a shot.
You just said 25 feet, Liz? 525. No. Okay, so just shy of a half. Okay. Anyway, I don't know. Have we heard anything yet? If it actually made any... had any effect on the orbit of this thing, or is it?
Well, I expect it's going to take a little while for the data to come in. But, I mean, just the fact that they had those fantastic images of it, this little asteroid, bigger and bigger and bigger.
I'm pretty sure that the camera
expected to see a pair of eyeballs looking back out of the crater in the asteroid.
Awesome? Like these
I live here.
Little creatures.
Yes.
Jumping off.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. All right. I'm sorry. I just wanted
but
to...
But a fantastic technological achievement to have, achieved. All we need to do now is find out a way to detect these asteroids, because, now we know one's there and we can hit it. They're actually really hard to detect, apparently. And they often get really close. Sometimes they go whistling past us, and we don't even know that we've had a near miss until they're already, no longer a factor. disappearing into the distance. And then someone goes, "Oh, did you see that? That one nearly hit us." So we need to also brush up on our ability to detect these lumps of rock.
Right. And I guess they're traveling very fast and they're very small. I guess it's pretty difficult to spot them until they're here.
Yeah, a lot of it apparently has to do with how they're lit, because a lot of it's still done optically. There's no other real way. There's no radar that finds them at a suitable range. Because if you're going to pile something as small as a little satellite into one of them, you've got to hit it an awful long way away. And I think that's part of the trick, is to do what they did. They fired it out a very long distance where something small can deflect it fraction of a degree, and that's enough to cause a misdistance. So that is brilliant, but you've got to find it and know it's coming and get it, put in the pile.
Okay. Yes, Liz is saying that it looks like they are still analyzing to see whether or not it had any effect on its orbital track.
But I love it. I love what NASA does nowadays. What are we going to do tomorrow? Let's throw a satellite into a rock.
Honestly, I'm thinking to myself as I'm watching this last night, this is going to be a horrible fail. It's going to go right past it. Whoa! Here it goes. Right. Swing and a miss.
Well, exactly. Because, I mean, we're not talking a missile here. It has to be a hitile. Missing is you could miss by 1 inch and you're completely failed.
So close.
So when do Bruce Willis and all of them get ready to save us from that asteroid? They're not that's going to hit Earth now because they not.
Oh, I don't know. But have you been watching Bruce Willis's roasting on Twitter that's been doing the rounds? Golly, that's funny. That is absolutely hilarious. There's some very funny people on that. Can't repeat any of it because it's all too rude.
Oh, by the way,
very good.
I need to mention this more often than I do. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you'll hear Liz making comments, and then I'll sometimes repeat them. And the reason for that is that the folks that are watching the video that we're live recording, they cannot hear, and the co-hosts can't hear her either. So that's why I end up repeating.
Bless you.
Bless you, sir.
Ah, yeah, I have a little allergy thing going on. Okay, time to move on to getting to know us. It's the time of the show where we get all caught up with what has been happening with everybody between shows. And let's start with, I'll start with me because hardly anything happened really with me. I flew a couple, actually, the house is for sale now, finally. It's been about a week and a half ago. We listed the home that I've been living in for 21 years. And we're showing it to interested parties. And sometimes I need to be away from the house if I'm not on a trip so that, you're just out of the way. You don't want to be hanging around and going, what do you think? You like it? Huh? You like it? So because they didn't want me doing that, I thought, they asked if I could stay in a hotel that opening weekend of showings. And I said, I'll do one better than that. I'll go and pick up a trip and let Acme pay for my hotels and make some extra money at the same time. So I just returned from a 3-day. I was off a day, and then I went out on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then back out on my normal scheduled trip on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And wow, that by day 6, I was brain dead, even more so than normal. And so I had 4 days off since that last trip. Yeah. Thank you, Liz. So the trip that I flew, I guess basically the day 4 of the 6 days in a row, we were supposed to have a layover in Tulsa, a big Tulsa meetup. We've been talking about it for weeks now. And we were going to have several people were going to be meeting up with us in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And guess what? We had a little bit of a hiccup, a little mechanical glitch, And it wasn't really that long of a delay. And we're not really sure, Brent and I aren't really sure exactly why they ended up having us do another thing instead of doing the Tulsa trip and the Tulsa layover. But, you can question it all you want, but it's not going to do any good. You're just going to do whatever they tell you to do. And so that three-leg day turned into a 4-leg day. The last 2 legs were just up to Knoxville, Tennessee, and back to Atlanta. Pretty short. And the good part of it was that we ended up having a domicile layover. So I was there in Atlanta for 18 hours or so. Yeah, and only one flight to Dallas Love Field the next day. So in that respect, it was nice. But I was so disappointed because I was so looking forward to meeting up with our Tulsa, Oklahoma folk. But we'll be back for sure. We'll do that meetup at a later date. But anyway, I did have a meetup though. I got a call from Captain Craig. And he said that he was flying from Oklahoma City, going home to Baltimore, Maryland, and he was flying through Atlanta and was wondering if I was going to be at the airport on Saturday morning. Again, it was one of those situations where I wasn't flying, I didn't have a trip scheduled, but I needed to be out of the house because there was a showing scheduled, and I'm thinking, I could just drive down to the airport and meet you for breakfast. So that's what I did on Saturday morning. Got me out of the house, and then even better, got me a nice meetup with one of our great APG community members, Captain Craig. He's out in Altus, Oklahoma, going through some training on the C-17. And I think he just finished his sims, and I think that he has a week or 2 off, and then he's going to go back and start the actual airplane flight training portion of the training. So it was really great to see you, Captain Craig. And
so, hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
What concourse were y'all on? Because I saw this as I got in my car on Saturday.
Yeah, I didn't even think of. I need to remember to do that. Steve, is like when I'm doing one of these meetups, is just like put out a general tweet and say, "Hey, I'm going to be in the Atlanta airport meeting up with someone. If you happen to be here, meet us over at." That was. Did you say when?
Oh, where were y'all at?
Oh, what concourse? We ended up going to the T concourse at Pappy's or Poppy's, a Cuban place for some breakfast.
Yeah.
Poppy, not your dog. It's oh, okay. Anyway, yeah, that was it. Yeah, not a lot going on with me. And let's see, Captain Nick. You mentioned it at the beginning of the show. And the background of your video shot right now has a beautiful shot of, is that Windsor Castle?
Yes, it is, most certainly.
And so why, pray tell, would you be showing us an overhead view of Windsor Castle?
Well, I am hoping, considering the coverage had to be at least a fraction of what we saw in the UK, that everyone will have heard the sad news that our monarch passed away, Queen Elizabeth II, and we had the most touching and remarkable period of mourning for her, and people have probably had enough of it now, because here in the UK it lasted about 12 days, and it was more or less just wall to wall. But she was a remarkable lady, and I think she deserved the attention that she received, because as a head of state, she was almost unique in her ability and her length of service, and her knowledge, and she's just an incredible lady. So this is, of course, Windsor Castle. We flew past it every time we did an approach on the easterly runways at Heathrow, because generally speaking we only ever land on 9 left, which is very close to Windsor Castle. So this was one lovely day when I was making a morning approach, and perfectly safely we took a picture out of the side window of Windsor Castle as we went by. And I'm going to try and duck down a bit. The chapel is at the, it's at the top of Windsor there, where she now rests. And there you go. And there's the lovely round tower. And, you all saw it all on TV. It was, her much loved home when she was down south, of course, and she passed away when she was up in Balmoral, which was her Scottish residence, and is the most lovely old castle up there in the Highlands, and she loved it out there because it was so remote, and she had a real love of nature and the countryside. So there was some very touching moments during the movement of the coffin from there down south, and then the taking it on a gun carriage through London to sit in state, where for 4 days, where the public were allowed to stream through and pay their respects, and then finally bringing her to Westminster, where they had the final service, and from then the coffin was moved up to Windsor here, where it was laid in the crypt, and has now joined her husband and mother and father in the family vaults, the family crypt there. So it was all very touching and all very moving for those of us who are fans of the monarchy, and I quite understand not everyone is, particularly those that have shook off the reins of British rule hundreds of years ago now. But regardless, I think a lot of people respected her as a lady of great political and great skill in the world that she lived in, of speaking to other heads of state, etc., and offering advice where it was perhaps needed. So anyway, we loved her. We now have a new king who became king on the instant of her passing, and he is King Charles III. In his well into his 70s, Charles. So he's not going to have nearly as long a reign. But there, standing in the wings, is William, who will become the Prince of Wales. And the wheel moves on. So we've still got our beloved royalty in charge, and it's just been one of those moments in our lives, because she was our monarch when I was born. So I'm going, wow, this is the only monarch I've known. And of course, when you get commissioned as an officer in the military, you receive your commission and it is signed by the Queen. And for me, it was a permanent commission, so I wasn't on a short service system. So, as far as I'm concerned, I realised that I left the service, but as far as I'm concerned, I still hold the Queen's commission, and I will do in my heart forevermore. But I was her man, and felt, I had her crown on my wings that I wore in the Royal Air Force, a different shape to a king's crown, so you can always tell the difference. There are very few pilots still alive with a king's crown on their wings. My father would have been one of them, but sadly he's gone. But now we will start issuing wings and uniforms with a king's crown, because we have a new monarch. It's an interesting change. So, and just today, his Royal Cipher was published. So, it used to be E2R, and now it's C3R. So, interesting thing. But that wasn't the only thing that happened. That was certainly one of the main events in my country. But, yeah. You've gone all quiet, Jeff. You're waving your finger at me. You want me to stop?
You're still quiet, Jeff. Oh, he knows.
Yes,
Okay.
you're muted.
Yeah.
Is Jeff just having fun with us or what there, Steve?
I thought he was, but...
All those brilliant things I was saying, and you missed so many, I don't think I could possibly...
Because you were muted.
I know. I'm sorry. I never use the mute function in StreamYard, except just
when you want to mute people.
Yeah, and I'm never going to do it again either. I was going to stop you from moving on because I want to say that you mentioned throwing off the reins of the monarchy and everything else, and of course you were alluding to the United States of America, but I think you probably know this. I know that Liz does as well. That the citizens of the United States have a really strong interest and fascination with the whole monarchy and everything, and the media especially here, and they pay close attention to all these things. And I, because I love music, especially traditional music, was just blown away at the beauty of the well, it wasn't even the funeral. It was just a service at the St. Paul's Cathedral, and the singing was just amazing, and the organ playing, and everybody in the congregation singing, and it was just a beautiful thing. It really touched me. And the interesting thing is, I never realized that small little detail that you just talked about with the Queen's crown and King's crown on your wings. I mean, I would never have known that. That's the first I've heard of this. So
it all changes. Yeah, absolutely. The Queen's crown is rounded, whereas the King's crown comes to a sort of a point at the top. So they're quite easy to tell under whose reign a pilot was awarded his wings. So yeah, there's all sorts of those little things that change when the monarch changes. So we'll see the changes. They'll slow. They'll move in. But all the tailors are busily, I've no doubt, making sure they've got a supply of all the right equipment to give the new military who are now joining the service under King Charles III.
And during all of this, it forced me to look back on my, basically lack of historical knowledge of the Queen and her reign, and she was so young when she became Queen. And then I stumbled upon this broadcast that she made. It was not the first time that she had made a Christmas broadcast, but or address to the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. But this is the first Christmas TV broadcast. And I read through this and I'm thinking, man, do we need somebody like this again to say these words? And she's basically saying that it's possible for some of you to see me today as just another example of the speed at which things are changing all around us. Again, this was in, what year was this? December 25th, 1957, the year before I was born. And because of these changes, I'm not surprised that many people feel lost and unable to decide what to hold on to and what to discard. And this kind of rings true with what we're going through right now, as far as the monarchy is concerned. How to take advantage of the new life without losing the best of the old. So he's just talking about these new technologies that we're experiencing. But it's not the new inventions which are the difficulty. The trouble is caused by unthinking people who carelessly throw away ageless ideals as if they were old and outworn machinery. They would have. So anyway, she goes on at this critical moment in our history. We will certainly lose the trust and respect of the world if we just abandon those fundamental principles which guided the men and women who built the greatness of this country and Commonwealth. Anyway, so I'll try to include a link, if I remember, in the show notes of this amazing Christmas broadcast, Christmas TV broadcast in 1957. Anyway, so I just wanted to kind of
wise words
say
from such a young lady, because she really was young, in the very early 20s when she took the throne. So and this is the sort of thing that set her up to be the admired person she is now. So we're going to miss her.
Yeah. Okay. So that's. Yeah. What else have you been up to, Nick?
Yeah, so that's been the kind of background of while I was away. I dived away for a week. That's why I missed a show. So my apologies for that, of course. But we went down to Camber Sands, which is just a lovely beach area. Not a salubrious spot at all, but pleasant enough. And had a week away down there and just relaxing. And then came back and... was it? No, it was the day before we left. I got a few days before I'd been contacted by Stefan Balmer, who you've met, and I know he's bumped into Dana in his worldwide travels. He's a fascinating bloke. Anyway, he said he's been down in Cardiff and he was on his way to London to fly away, and he wondered if he could sort of pop in and say hello. So that's actually really nice of him. So we decided to grab a meal together at a local pub, and what a fantastic bloke, fascinating bloke Stefan is. He's a physicist. You know, we only get the highest class of listener.
Exactly.
But in this case, it's very true. He's physicist who studies gravitational waves, and he tried to explain it to me, and I did my best to understand, but I'm going to get all this all wrong, so my apologies, Stefan. He works with equipment that effectively are a pair of lasers that fire through underground chambers about 2.5 miles long, and there are two of them at right angles to each other. And as gravitational waves pass through these lasers, they minutely change I guess it's the frequency of the lasers, which are very highly calibrated, and they can measure the intensity and I guess work out where these gravitational waves, what they are and where they're from. He said the sort of ones they were looking for were from pulsars, but actually it's more common to have a kind of pair of black holes that are rotating around each other. They send out big ones, and they've discovered they're much more common. But I mean, he did his best to explain in layman's terms to me what was going on, but I was just, in awe of his intellect. What a fantastic bloke. So we had a lovely meal together at the Deer's Hut and recorded a bit of audio. So perhaps it'd be appropriate to play that, if that's all right.
Yeah. Am I supposed to play that?
I don't know. I put it in Evernote.
Did you?
Yes.
I didn't even know. I didn't even see it. Oh, there, look. Stefan Bell.
As if by magic.
Meetup. Okay. Yeah. So, here we go.
Hello, Jeff. It's Captain Nick here, and I'm outside the Deer's Hut. It's a bit noisy inside to chit-chat, but I'm here with the lovely Stefan, who is on his way back to London, and he called by and wanted to meet, so we dragged him down to one of our local pubs and bought him a meal, and now we're going to make him sing for his supper. So, Stefan,
good luck with that.
Stefan, what are you doing in this country?
Yeah, hey everybody, APG crew. First of all, yeah, I was here for a week at a conference, professional conference, and looked at a map and figured, hey, I got a Friday evening. Why don't I send out an email? And guess what? Here I am. So that's the lengths I have to go to, because, Jeff and Dana used to fly into Syracuse, but they don't show up anymore now. They graded up to bigger airplanes. So,
well, that's no good, is it?
It's no good at all. Yeah,
no, absolutely not. So just to explain to our listeners what you were doing in this country, because it's fascinating. I have a thing about physics. I listen to some of the podcasts. I don't understand much, but I'm intrigued to know what it is you've been talking about for the last few days.
Yeah, so I'm a gravitational wave physicist. I work with the LIGO Gravitational Wave Observatory. These are, in one sentence, large kilometer scale laser facilities that measure fluctuations in space-time caused by black holes colliding.
Wow.
It sounds like just a salad of fancy words, doesn't it?
It sounds absolutely fantastic. I wish my job description was halfway as good as that. So that has been your job for how long?
Well, yeah, I've been with the project for over 20 years now, and way before we started actually seeing stuff. So yeah, it's I love this job. There's no question about it. But at the same time, it also pays for flying, so that's perfect.
Yes, of course. The real reason we're here is not to discuss discovering gravitational waves as they pass through the Earth, being measured by minute deflections in the frequency of these laser beams, but actually, more importantly, you're a pilot.
I am. Yes, I'm a pilot. I'm an instructor, instrument instructor. I've never done this professionally. It's just all for the love of flying. And really, the instructor ratings I just did because I wanted to give to the next generation again. It's just for the love of it. Yeah.
Well, that's a very good thing to do. I love that. But more importantly, you are building your own aircraft right now.
That's right. There's too much time during a pandemic. And what do? You start building your own airplane. Yeah, so we're about, 7 months into the build of an RV-14A, Vans aircraft kit. And the only question I have is, why didn't I start earlier in my life? I absolutely love it. It's a fulfilling thing to do, and the only thing is I need to finish it so I can fly it.
Well, I'm sure the motivation is there because when you get it all done, it's going to be marvelous, that first flight.
I'm looking forward to it. There's no question. Yeah. No.
So that's in Syracuse in the United States, but you're originally from Switzerland.
That's right. I grew up in Switzerland, and actually my first pilot rating was in Switzerland back when I was 17 here.
Wow. Wow. And paid for by the Swiss military.
2/3 of the cost was done by the Swiss military, and then they figured out my eyes are not good enough.
Oh, damn. Otherwise, you could be an F-18 pilot like me.
That's right. There I go.
Well, I think your job is much more interesting, if you don't mind me saying. I was fascinated listening to you and talking to you about it, even though most of it went clean over my head. The one thing I did understand was you're a pilot and you have a love of flying, and you started listening to the show for what I consider to be quite an odd reason.
Yeah. So I was, at the time, a summer I spent in Japan, and my Japanese is just not good enough to listen for an hour of drive to the observatory just to the Japanese radio. So I needed to listen to something for like 10 hours every week. And so I literally Googled for long aviation podcast. And what you know, Here I am.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. Well, Jeff, we've consumed probably enough time here from Stefan and myself, and back to you and the long aviation podcast.
Yes, and put Syracuse back on your destination list.
Oh, absolutely, yes. And thank you very much indeed, Stefan.
Absolutely.
So, longer is better, apparently.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you only have to ask the ladies. By the way, if you go back to that last image, that's a free house. So if anyone needs a house, they can have that for free.
Wow.
A free house.
I'm in the market.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. It's near Liphook in England, but it says it's free. So that's
okay.
fine.
As long as you don't mind all the deer that are living there as well.
Yeah,
that's true. It's a bit smelly, but
yeah.
I
was just gonna say, is anybody else concerned with him, imploding the Earth with his black holes in this underground tunnel that he's?
Well, luckily he's not making the black holes. He's just measuring the gravitational results of them. So,
are you sure about that?
Yeah, it's not like the Hadron Collider where they whiz around and everyone was terrified they were going to create a small sun or something down under the Earth. But I'm always amazed when I meet someone of his intellect, and it doesn't happen very often because they're rare people. And you can just tell that there's so much going on inside his head, and he can actually, express it in a certain way, but eventually, of course, it's just going to go clean over the rest of our intellect, and we'll get lost. So it was lovely meeting you, Stefan. He's ever such a nice bloke, and I'm no doubt a fine instructor, because he has a great way of communicating. So it was a pleasure, and thanks very much indeed for making the effort to pop in, Stefan. Oh, and I didn't buy the meal, by the way. Stefan insisted on paying, so thank you, Stefan.
He is a prince of a man.
He is, absolutely.
Well, speaking
and
of...
that's been about my 2 or 3 weeks, actually, thanks. Back. That's it, all covered. Oh, I've got some pictures, by the way, from the RAF Memorial, Battle of Britain Memorial, which I'll have ready for the next show.
Okay. And iHall Box is wondering if you had a happy birthday.
It was fun. I'll tell you what, iHall Box is an absolute classic, isn't it? I needed a new pair of decent earphones to wireless ones to listen to podcasts and audiobooks and things. So my lovely wife bought me a set of Bose ones, and tomorrow I've got an appointment to see an audiologist to get hearing aids. so you can't wear them together. You can only have one set of things in your ear at a time. So I'm thinking that was bad timing.
That's unfortunate.
Just use the Bose in-ear wireless things as your
QC. Yeah, they're noise cancelling. Very nice, lovely choice. I promise I didn't send her the link. But
we saw that wink.
Very good. No, tomorrow I'm afraid I'm going to probably end up, because I've had a hearing test and I've got a sharp decline in certain frequencies, about 95% of them.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
There was a cricket in my basement where I've been sleeping, and if I sleep on my left ear, on the left side of my head, I can hear it loud and clear. But if I shift to the other ear down and the left ear up and open, I don't hear it at all. I'm thinking, wait a minute, how does it know which way I'm to in my head?
You sure it's not faking you out?
It could be.
Some of those crickets are quite smart. I've seen the movie. I've seen Pinocchio. Yeah. I know all about those crickets.
Could be. Well, anyway, speaking of Prince of Men, we have the Princess of Men here, Stephen Ivy. No, I'm just kidding. How have you been, Stephen? Now, just quickly, Stephen and I have known each other for quite some, and many people in the community know Stephen Ivy. And Stephen asked a couple of years ago if he knew that I wasn't doing a thing because my airplane had just been retired in 2019. And was it 2019 or 2020?
2019, 2020, yeah.
Something 2020. Like that. Anyway, I was not actively flying at the time, and he said, hey, you want to go on a road trip with me, because I need to take my car out to Southern California. And we did a series of road trip audios, and I'll hopefully remember to put a link right here of the series of road trip audios that we made on our way out from Atlanta to the West Coast. And it was a very memorable trip, and really was honored that you asked me to be your co-pilot. Driving, at times flying,
yes.
Out to California. So, anyway, so Stephen you have a long history in aviation, starting with, was it starting as a flight attendant?
Yeah, I worked for ASA for 9 months, almost a year back in 2011, and the whole time had everybody telling me that I needed to go be a pilot, so I worked on that, and I got hired on with the power company here, and took my
an engineer,
bonus, project controls guy.
Okay, but you have an engineering degree, right?
No, I have computer science.
Oh, I thought you had an engineering degree.
No, no.
But yeah, I took my bonus check from there, got my private pilot's certificate, and then every year after I got my yearly bonus from them, I'd go do the next thing. So I'm instrument rating my commercial. Bought a couple of airplanes while I was there. And one day I got told that I was going to get moved to a position I really didn't care to be in. And I decided that I was going to go fly for a living. So I found a survey job, do an aerial survey. Did that for about 9 months. And then after I got my hours in, I went over to SkyWest. And I was there up until about March of this year, actually. So.
And then what happened?
Well, in between here and then, we had a pandemic. Then I got a desk job with, I guess I can talk about now. I got a desk job with Lockheed Martin out in California at the Skunk Works. I worked for the facilities engineering group out there, doing the same thing I did for the power company, doing project controls type work. Still flying. Matter of fact, I actually looked because I had to turn in some hours for some stuff, and I only flew 125 hours in 2020. Just to give you an idea of how slow things were. But I also managed to meet my wife while I was out there. So I met her, and then we both, I moved back to Georgia in February of 2021, and then she moved out here in September. And then we got married this past December. Jeff then was at the wedding, as well as Carlos. He actually DJ'd the wedding for us. That was really fun. Mm-hmm. So having now been married and having 2 jobs, and as well as a third with my wife's job, we kind of I had to make a decision on what I was going to do with everything. And I decided that I wanted to fly. Still, so I put my upgrade in at SkyWest, but I had also applied for a 135 operator, and the reason being behind it was the quality of life was a lot better than what I was getting at SkyWest. I was commuting up to Chicago, riding the jump seat a lot, just not having a great time with the trips I got, and I just kind of burnt out from the regional world. I just had a lot of issues with the company, with the staffing. I had a lot of trips that I didn't have a captain on, so they were all delayed. And then just really it was the commute that was getting to me. I was having to go up the day before the trip started, and then sometimes really struggling to get home on the last day. So I decided to go with this 135 operator, mostly because they are pay for my commute back and forth. It's on the airline. I get the airline points. I get my hotel points. They pay for my meals, and then I'm gone for 8 days. Then I'm home for 7, then go back out again. And then I got the airplane I wanted to. I'm in the Challenger 300 series. Which is the newer version of the Challenger 601 series, which is what CRJ is based off of. Has the same FMS avionics system as the RJ did, so it was a really super easy transition. But I've been there for, I guess, coming up on 6 months now. And other than that, my wife's gotten me into working out every day. I actually went to the doctor today for my physical, and I had lost a lot of weight and doing good besides that. And we've got a little one on the way too. They're due in March of next year. So.
Oh, awesome! Congratulations!
Thank you.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, well, that's great. Okay, yeah, that's the first time I'd really heard your. It's been a while since we've been able to get together, Stephen.
Yeah.
And to hear about all that, so that's cool that you're able to share. Yeah,
it is.
All right, very good. Yeah, thanks for being here. It was kind of just a last minute thing. I had been one of our pieces of feedback involve some a request for advice. And I'm thinking, well, I don't really know what kind of advice to give this person who wants to remain anonymous. So I reached out to Stephen to perhaps help with advice to this person. And we were planning on playing the audio feedback that Stephen had recorded. Thank you, Stephen, for taking the time out to do that.
Yeah,
and then just before the show, about an hour before the show or so, he said, "Hey, do you need any more hosts?" And I said, "Well, are you interested?" And he said, "Yeah." All right. Well, then you can do, instead of playing the recorded audio that you made, we'll just hear your advice live during the feedback section. So my cover art. Oh, yeah. This. Now, I mean, usually you see these pieces of junk that Nick comes up with. And I'm thinking, well, yeah.
I'm ashamed by this.
I know. Well, I knew this would make you
piece
feel
of
bad.
artwork.
Well,
I
okay.
particularly like the color purple that you've used to smudge out Larry's surname.
No, I did not do that. That was in the original image. That was not my doing. That
you're sure about that?
No, I'm positive. Yeah. I did not do that.
That's very good.
Yeah, so that was one of our pieces of feedback that we had on a previous show, or on that show actually. And so we were talking about this, the little business card that this private pilot hands out to pilots of flights that he's on, and then the other there was another backup pilot thing that was related. It was kind of a little bit different, but it was backing. Oh, that's right, backing up. Yeah, the 757 popping in reverse to complete the turn and make that midfield turn off. So yeah, a play of words. Thank you, Liz. Backup pilot, and I was beat by the time I finished editing and everything else, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I gotta do the artwork now too.
Well, that's why I love taking it off your hands, because
yeah, I do appreciate it. I really do.
Yeah.
And yes, now one of the things that Nick prides himself on is he'll subtly include the name and number, or not name, but the number of the podcast in the artwork. And I thought it was pretty clever the way that I just subtly.
Yeah, I mean, there's it's a real challenge finding it, Jeff.
Yeah, it was a struggle, real struggle.
Yeah.
Well, so many things in my life are a struggle, so I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, we were very happy that Nick is back to do that wonderful artwork he always does. Anyway, so yeah, Coffee Fund, yes ma'am. Here we go. And we play this from Jeff Smith.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee. I love tea. I love the APG community. Coffee and tea and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Man, you get better and better, Liz. Coffee Fund. It's your way to support the show financially, if you have the means to do so. And a couple of different ways to do that. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic Method, the OG way of donating to the show. And we do have some recurring donators, contributors there, but we've decided that we're just going to talk about the people that do the one-offs every now and then. So we didn't have anybody take advantage of that. It's a feature. But we do have some new patrons at patreon.com, the other way that you can support the show financially. And since the last episode, we have a new producer, Erbium, I think, not sure, and a new executive producer, Chris Gilbertson. So thank you, both of you, for signing up to become a patron of the show via patreon.com. So you might want to check that out by going to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee You'll be glad you did, and we will too. Oh, I want to also mention that one of the perks of being a contributor to the show and part of our Coffee Fund cadre is that periodically I and other co-hosts will put out or publish crew logs, and Nick Camacho did one yesterday that we just put up there for the patrons to listen to if you want to hear some of the behind-the-scenes stuff happening with the show and with the crew. So please consider joining this great group of people and becoming part of our Coffee Bar Club or Coffee Fund cadre. All right. Do I need a break?
I would like a break.
Boy, do I. You
I just had a break.
Oh,
you just had a break. Do you need to go, Stephen?
I do.
Okay. Let's take a quick physiological.
I'll keep the audience occupied.
All right. Okay. You got it. You got the con.
I have control. I'll just get rid of everybody else because, they're a distraction. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Nick Anderson podcast. I'd just like to say I'm doing a couple of talks coming up. One is at Manchester. So if there's any Mancunian listeners, have you ever heard of TAS, T-A-S, the Aviation Society? That's what it stands for. It's an aviation society adjacent to Manchester Airport, in fact, right on the boundary fence, and they've even sort of built a viewing mound there so you can get a great view over the airport and the aircraft there. But within their buildings there, they have got one of the few Concords, and it's in beautiful condition. Anyway, I gave a talk to them a couple of years ago, and they've invited me back, and it's in a couple of weeks. So just in case you haven't heard, if you live up that way, let's just check when it is. I think it's Monday the 17th. I think it's Monday the 17th, pretty sure. That's when it's in my diary anyway. Up there. And whereas the last time I did my talk on phantoms chasing bears, this time it's going to be called, and I haven't written it yet, but it's going to be called, I think it's, oh, come on, it's some pages. Oh, Life in a Hornet's Nest. So it's kind of the next stage of my career on, because that first talk was more or less about my flying training and my time on the Phantom Force. Following that time on the Phantom Force, of course, I moved on to the F-18 Hornet, and this really covers that period. There are a couple of I cover a couple of dodgy incidents which occurred to me, both of which were highly embarrassing. I can look back on them now and laugh, so that's good. And of course, I have huge fondness for the McDonnell Douglas product, and the Hornet was, in my opinion, the finest fighter they built. And I still don't acknowledge, despite what Mike is probably about to say now, that it is a Boeing aircraft. It's not. It's McDonnell Douglas through and through. Boeing might have slapped their logo on it. That's about as far as it goes, in my opinion. My humble, very, very humble opinion. Anyway, that's coming up. What else have I got on? I'm renewing my umpire's qualification for bowling. So that's the weekend, and then on the Monday up to Manchester to do the talk. And I'm also giving a talk over at the Isle of Wight early next year. So if you're a member of the Isle of Wight Royal Aeronautical Society, the Isle of Wight branch, then keep your ear out. I'd love to see you there. Always get a great. I love talking to the Royal Aeronautical Society branches because they are genuine enthusiasts, and so many of them actually have great history within the a world of aviation. They might have been engineers, aircraft designers, pilots, military pilots, civil pilots, test pilots, people from all sorts of backgrounds within aviation. Oh, they might just be interested, but they're all interested enough to join the Royal Aeronautical Society, and I've been very kindly invited to speak to them early next year. So if you live in the Isle of Wight or the south of England and want to have a short break, it's a lovely day out to go to the Isle of Wight because you've got to go over on a ferry. There's no bridges, and it's like stepping back a decade or two actually when you go over there. But anyway, it's going to be great. Can someone let me back in? Sorry, Stephen.
Well, he can't let himself back in.
Did I forget to mute myself or?
No. I just wanted to take over the screen.
Oh, okay.
I didn't. You can add yourself back in. Sorry, I didn't realize.
Oh, okay. No, it's okay. I don't know how to do that. This is my first time using it.
I just wave your magic wand over your thumbnail, and it'll say.
Okay. Although I'm not sure it works that way for him because he is a guest host.
Oh, is that right? Okay, you may not have magical powers like the rest of us. My apologies.
I do not. It does
See,
nothing.
I can make Jeff take my spot. Look at this. There you go. You see, that's one of my magical powers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Fancy.
I just stepped on the cat. Oh no! I'm sorry.
Oh no! Is that a scorpion you found there?
No, hold on. Here. No, come back.
Oh, I can't hear the cat.
Wow. Stephen's got some pussy. That's very endearing the way cats do that with their legs, and they kind of like stick out like stilts.
They don't know what to do with them. They're just like, woo.
Yeah, I know. Brilliant.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Control room is telling us feedback time. So let me get that first item of feedback up. And bumper, yep. Here we go. It's time for some feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
Okay, the first item in our feedback for today's show is from Tim Qualls. I made it. He says, greetings to all. You'll recall that I had a meetup with Tim as he was on his way from Arkansas to Darlington, South Carolina for a NASCAR race. I'm sorry, Arkansas.
I've heard of Arkansas. Where's Arkansas?
Yeah, there you go. He says, greetings to all. I made it back home in record time, 13 hours. I say record time, but it's the only time I've made that drive. But I still think it counts. Yeah, it's some sort of a record for you.
Yeah. Okay. Was he going in reverse or something?
Well, it is a long trip. Going from Arkansas through probably a part of Tennessee and Mississippi and Alabama and Georgia and then finally South Carolina. It's a bunch of states. Anyway, okay. So maybe it's not as fast as the planes that may soon be flying over my house. After hearing the feedback recently about the sonic booms over Oklahoma City, you can imagine my surprise when I got this week's newspaper and saw the headline, quote, proposed training center could mean noisy skies for Montgomery County. Ebbing Air National Guard Base in Fort Smith was chosen as the top pick for a new foreign military sales pilot training center within the continental U.S. for F-16s and F-35s. The local paper says that 3 of the training areas to be used would include airspace over parts of Montgomery County. Most of the county could possibly be affected by noise pollution resulting from sonic booms created during training exercises. I'm including a link to another article, not the one from my paper, because it appears that we don't have that newfangled technology that puts articles on the interwebs. So this is...
I object to one of the words in that last sentence but one. It shouldn't be noise pollution. It should be noise excitement.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
Noise pollution.
Noise excitement.
Yeah. Anyway, the article's from the SW Times, and it's been a long time since we've had fighters flying over here. I think the last ones were the A-10s, so it'll be nice to see them. Yeah, you're not going to get sonic booms from the A-10s.
Nowhere close.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Although you will hear big booming noises or buzzing noises, right, when that gun fires.
Yes. Oh. That's very good. Was that the cat?
No, that was me, actually.
Yeah, try to keep it inside, would you? Anyway, Tim says, keep up the great work. It seems I'm more wordy in writing than on a recording. I like it. Thank you, Tim. And again, the article from the SW Times, not sure what that stands for, maybe Southwest Times. .com, F-16 Pilot Training Center coming to Ebbing Air National Guard Base. I'm not going to read it to you, but basically they're going to be out there in Arkansas and making sonic booms possibly over the country skies. Yeah. So thank you for alerting us to that news. And
yeah, must be exciting for some people. Some others will go, oh no, can't have that. No. But there you go. Got to train somewhere.
Yep. All right, some audio feedback from Marcus Duncan, and I think he's requesting some tips for becoming a commercial pilot.
Hi guys, it's Marcus from Dundee, Scotland, a student pilot, and I'm just about to go solo for the first time in my PPL. I've been listening to the show for a wee while now, and I thought I'd message in and ask what you guys' top tips were for someone who's wanting to move into the world of commercial aviation as a professional pilot. I've often found that tips from experienced pilots is often what leads to the best results, so I was hoping you guys could tell me something. Okay, thank you very much. Cheers.
Okay. I think the person that has most recent experience with becoming a commercial pilot is Stephen. Do you have any tips for Marcus?
Save your money. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, honestly, though, yeah, that is one thing. Save your money if you're wanting to become one.
Oh, yeah, I've got a tip that'll help you do it very cheaply.
Oh, is it starting? What's that?
Join the military.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
It's not the easiest thing to do necessarily, particularly because in the UK it's shrunk so much, but geez, you'll get everything for free.
Yeah, you will.
They'll pay you.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I think one thing is just do your research. As Nick said, you could join the military. You could do what I did and spend your money, your bonus checks, if you happen to have one of those, and use it towards your training. You can get a second job to help it. You can go look for scholarships. You can also do ab initio programs. I think a lot of carriers in Europe do that. There's a bunch of different ways you could go about it. I just think you need to go research out what you would like to do. And another thing is just kind of figure out the path you want to go on and what you're really wanting to do, as far as, do you want to actually fly airlines? Do you want to fly cargo? Do you want to fly charter? Because they all well, at least here in the States, there's a little bit different hour requirements for 135 operations versus 121. I'm sure there's a little difference over in the Europe and the UK as well. But just go do your research, look online, go through the forums, look what you're wanting to do, and then just make a plan and stick to it. Yeah, that's a big issue, is learning how to speak the Queen's English or King's English.
Yeah. You're stirring the hornet's nest there.
Yeah.
The biggest challenge, this is Tim Van Ram's comment in the live audience. The biggest challenge for a Scot to become a commercial pilot is having to learn to speak English.
Yeah, please note that he lives in California, this bloke. So,
yes.
I feel sorry for you, Duncan, having to put up with insults from halfway around the world. By the way, Duncan, I know that area quite well, having served for about 10 years at Lucas, just down the road from Dundee. I accidentally bombed through the Dundee airport's control zone a few times. Apologies for that, but it would have been well before your time, so don't worry. And I'm no longer flying.
About your terms, Captain Nick. You bombed something there?
Yes, probably.
That's not good.
Probably. Yeah, but no, I was actually quite serious about the advice I got when I tried to get into aviation when it was very quiet was join the military. But, the other way, of course, is, as Stephen says, you could try and find someone who's going to donate £100,000 to your aviation fund and do an approved course. Or you could, try and gain the hours and work it up, become an assistant flying instructor, and then, you're halfway there because now you're actually getting a little bit of money while you're building your hours. And pilots are needed. I mean, perhaps the demand isn't quite as good in Europe as it is in the States, but there are avenues. I don't forget, there's a lot of people out there who are interested in getting your money. And a lot of these courses that you might be lured into or tempted to start for multi-crew, and I can't even remember what they're called now. It's such a new concept for me because it didn't exist when I did all my training.
The ATPL stuff?
Well, yeah, there's you can get into an airline having done an approved course with as little as 200 hours in Europe. But they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if the airline decides it doesn't want to continue with those courses and you're halfway through, you're left hanging. You lose your money. You've invested your money into a course.
And you got to pay for your type ratings too, right?
You've got to pay for lots of bits, so really think hard before you look at the adverts and think, oh, that's got to be the way to go. There are lots of other avenues in there, and speak to people who have recently got into the airlines and ask how they got in. And there are quite a number of podcasts where people are actually telling their stories. So seek those out and listen to them and gain, learn from their experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say one other thing too. I know a lot of regional airlines now, and even some low-cost carriers. If you've already got your hours in, so if you were to get your commercial over in Europe, your ATPL and everything, and let's say you can't get a job with an airline in Europe, they'll actually pay you for your green card and whatnot and get you a work visa to come fly for them here in the States too. So that's
that's a very good point, Stephen. Don't be put off by the fact that you might have to up sticks and move to another country. It might seem quite a big thing for someone who perhaps is a home-loving chap. I don't know exactly what your circumstances are, but the best avenue might be to move to a country where pilots are really needed and where the flying training is inexpensive. So, bear all those things in mind. If you're going to be a pilot, you're going to be flying around the world anyway. So, what does it matter if you do your training in a different country and start off living there?
Okay.
Yeah, you come to the States so we can give you a 10-gallon hat and you can be a cowboy pilot.
There you go.
And you could go, okay, instead of yeehaw.
Okay.
Yeehaw!
Okay.
Okay.
So, Micah, in our live audience, says, in the USA, a state college or university with an aviation program will be a very inexpensive way to get your pilot's license, as your ground school is included with your tuition. I don't know. Is it? Would you say, Stephen, that that's an inexpensive way?
Nope, it's not inexpensive at all. My buddy, he went to one of those, and he's got about $175,000 student loans he's working on paying off from it.
Ooh, ouch. Yeah.
So
Well,
I would say be selective of the one you would go to.
Yeah, there might be schools that are less expensive, but this whole aviation thing is quite expensive. One of the things that you can do to build up time is to Marcus is to be a drug runner. And our next piece of feedback is from Brazil. But my tip is I do not recommend that you do this because something like this might happen to you. And let me advance here to the appropriate place in this video that was actually taken in Brazil about 3 years ago. And Ian is the one who sent this in, so I think I'm going to start right about here. So we're driving down a country road, 2-lane road, in what looks to be cornfields or some kind of sugarcane, something in the fields. And the person doing the recording doesn't have a good wind dead cat or wind muff. Let me fast forward to the aviation-related part of this. Maybe this is about where it starts.
While you're doing that, apologies to Marcus. I called him Duncan. It's his surname.
Okay. Okay, let me move. Oh, okay. Here we go. I think we're good. Okay, we passed a couple of cars on this 2-lane road. And now they're driving very rapidly down this dirt road. Kind of a single lane. And in the distance, there's a pickup truck in the way. Some red dirt dust all around. And now you can see the aviation. Oh, here's this guy pulled out his assault rifle. And look, there's an airplane. A low wing, it looks like some kind of a Piper. Boom.
Wow.
It took out
was
the
that
left
necessary?
wing.
I mean, was that really necessary?
Okay, the guns are drawn. Lots of screaming. Pointing guns. Oh yeah, what a friend this guy is. He just left that guy there with the airplane. And then he goes on to chase after some other bad guys. Anyway, the interesting part here, of course, is the part where
he's just hightailing out of there going, oh, that was the wrong airplane.
Whoops. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
So,
but it just goes to show all these ridiculous movies you see of vehicles chasing airplanes down the runway, and it's that easy. You just drive down the runway and drive into them. There you go, bonk.
Hit the wing, boom.
That airplane ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, pretty much disabled that airplane.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, that is remarkable.
Well, Stephen, you have a lot of
experience taking out airplanes.
GA. Has this ever happened to you?
I've been solicited to fly drugs before.
Really?
Yes, I have. I declined the offer. I felt like it was actually a little cheap. I thought $5,000 was not a lot of money for the risk.
Oh, wow. You would have done it if they'd offer you more.
Wow, I was going to say $5,000 versus 25 years in prison.
Well, it's only if you get caught. That's the thing. But I don't think I'd ever would have done this before. I've actually I flew into I forgot the name of the island out in the Bahamas, but where Pablo ran his drugs through the Florida. I flew into there on charter the other month, and it was you could just see the planes littered in the water from crashing, from being overloaded and everything. There were a bunch of like Apaches and single engine airplanes in the water. So I do not believe this would be a good way to build your time.
Build your time, no.
No. I would also advise you, if you are looking for odd ferry pilot type jobs, anything that goes south of the border, you should probably really, really investigate who you're delivering to before you do it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, let's skip to feedback 15. Since we're talking about opportunities in colleges and schooling, Number 9? Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on. Let me. Yeah, I may have used the wrong number. Yes, number 9, which is the same thing in my mind as 15. So, I don't know what it means. Hi, APG crew. Junior year in high school has finally started for me. Physics is currently my favorite class as it's related to aerospace engineering and therefore aviation, while my U.S. history course has been making me want to become Canadian. Okay. On the note of aerospace engineering, I've begun to think about my plans after high school, and I've decided that I'll give it a go at attending a university with a major in aerospace engineering. I'm considering Georgia Tech in Atlanta, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor near Detroit, among a few others. I personally haven't ever been to Atlanta or Detroit. I think he is in Southern California, yeah. I haven't been to Atlanta or Detroit, but seeing that the APG crew are pilots after all, and thus have flown all over this country, I was wondering if anybody would know a thing or two about Atlanta. No.
I know nothing about it.
No. Detroit or any of the said universities. Once again, thank you all, as always, for doing the podcast weekly. It educates, entertains, and keeps me sane. Wishing the crew clear skies all around. Tailwinds during
Isn't that
cruise
funny?
and
Because
headwinds.
we're doing our damnedest to make him insane.
I know. No, we haven't
It
gotten
doesn't
to
seem
him
to
yet.
work, does it?
No. He's impervious to it, apparently. So I do have some personal experience with the Georgia Institute of Technology, or what we like to call it, Georgia Tech in Atlanta. I was there my freshman year.
You don't call it GIT?
No, we don't call it GIT.
I call it Tech.
Okay.
Yeah. And I went there, honestly, a long time ago in the, I guess, the 77, 78 school year. So, well before the turn of the century. But it's an amazing school, and it facilitated the feeling in myself that confidence that I had that I was a smart person was completely not. Yeah, it was completely destroyed. Thank you. It was a collection of amazingly smart people. Yeah, it was a very humbling experience. You're right, Liz. Anyway, great aerospace engineering program there. And Auburn University has a great one as well. Detroit, University of Michigan in Ann Arbor is a great school as well. They're a huge school. Cold winters, yep, yeah, so keep that in mind, Mr. SoCal. But they have a great football team there. And that's a lot of fun to get involved in that kind of thing during the school year. But I don't know. Do you have anything? I know, Nick, you probably have, no clue what to say about either of those schools. But how about you, Stephen?
Well, I would also, if you're wanting to do aerospace engineering, Texas A&M has a great program.
Yeah.
And they also there's really easy to get an internship with Lockheed, mostly because they're out of Fort Worth in there, so I know it's a lot easier to get some experience that way. I also know Georgia Tech's got a program with Delta for working at the TOC with the mechanics and engineers down there for working on the aircraft there. Michigan, I don't really. I know Ann Arbor's nice, but as far as their program, I don't know that much about it. If you're wanting kind of some advice on where to live and how to get in, I go and tell you, College Station, Texas. There's not a lot there other than A&M, and it's kind of out by itself. But if you want a really good football atmosphere, that would be the school to go to, because Georgia Tech just fired their head coach. It's the third one in like 3 years. Tech itself, it's right inside Midtown Atlanta. There's a lot of stuff to do around there, but you can literally go to the west side and you don't want to be out at night. It's really rough. And then not only that, they tend to do a lot of international students. I've heard that's really hard to get in the tech. If you're even if you live in the state of Georgia, it's been really hard to get in.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, I can't really think of any. Embry-Riddle, I think they've got an aerospace engineering program that's in Daytona and Phoenix.
Yeah.
There's one other really big school that's got a great aerospace program, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, I would. I don't know where you live at now, but I would definitely, if you
Southern California, he says.
Southern California, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, well, if you still want that kind of coast to the coast thing, then Embry-Riddle and Daytona would probably be your best bet. If you want to be in town with lots of things to do, Georgia Tech. If you want to play in the snow and have a football team that can't decide if they want to win or lose, go to Michigan. And then if you want to be in the middle of nowhere and have a football team that thinks they're the greatest thing since sliced bread, go to A&M. So
I've got a suggestion.
Okay.
We have an excellent university at Cranfield, which deals with aviation degrees, and of course the pound has just plummeted against the US dollar, having reached a 50-year low, so it's probably very cheap right now.
Good point. The exchange rate is very favorable for the US dollar. Yeah. You know what, Josh? Just pick out some that have a great reputation for aerospace engineering, and then go visit them. I know it may not be the easiest thing, convenient, inexpensive thing to do, but that sometimes you pick up a good feeling about the flavor of the school by doing that. So,
and if you do come to Atlanta to check out Tech, I can show you around Atlanta for sure. And I know several Georgia Tech alumni that could probably talk to you about the school itself. Of course, one's he's a what's the really fancy word for the really smart accountants? Like some kind of I forgot the word for it. Yeah, he does like cryptography and stuff. Like really, yeah. And then the other one's
forensic accounting.
Yeah.
I was going to say mafia, but perhaps that's a different kind of accounting.
Yeah.
All right. Liz is saying
words.
Okay. I'm sure he may have already done this, but yeah, thank you. Yeah, Googling aerospace engineering schools gives you a list of schools and the differences in the tuition prices and such as well. So, he's probably already done that, but that's good advice. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that we thank you. I asked Josh because he told us about himself and his journey. I said, make sure you kind of keep us up to date on that. So we hope that you pick a good school and that you're happy there and that you do well. And now, Control Room is telling me that it is time for this week's installment of the Old Pilot's Plain Tales. And this, I love these. RAF Form 14, Volume 18.
The Old Pilot's Plain Tales. RAF Form 414, Volume 18. It's May 1987, and I'm on the Australian FA-18 No. 2 Operational Conversion Unit at RAAF Williamtown, starting the final phase on course 1 of 87, before moving on to No. 77 Squadron, which was to be my home for the next few years. The art of air-to-ground attack is to throw things at the earth and not miss. Newton wasn't a bomber pilot, but amazingly, he'd already worked out that any particle of matter in the universe attracts any other with a force varying directly to the product of the masses and inversely to the square of the distance between them. As far as a bomber pilot is concerned, this means that it would be very unlikely that when you drop something, you would miss clobbering Mother Earth, somewhere at least. This is why, of course, the air-to-ground phase only consisted of 16 trips. After all, how hard could it be? The answer was, in something as sophisticated as the FA-18, not very. However, for my first attempt, I had to prove that I understood the basic physics of bomb dropping by trying to hit the target in a reversionary mode, that is, without the ballistic computers helping. A bit like Luke Skywalker bullseyeing womp rats in Beggar's Canyon with his T-16 back home. He apparently had boasted of a miss distance of less than 2 meters. So, with Bob Ambler in the back seat insisting that I use the Force and switch off my targeting computer, I pickled off my one and only completely manual bomb. The theory was good. At the correct dive angle, with an accurate speed, the appropriate wind allowance, and a steady hand, if the bomb was released at the perfect height above the target, the ballistics should carry it in a perfect arc down to hit it. However, for every knot, every degree, every foot of error, the bomb would follow a different path, in my case, to somewhere so painfully short of the target that the bombing range's triangulating equipment was unable to locate it. Unplottable at 6 o'clock came the score from the range safety officer. That never seemed to happen to Skywalker. Luckily for me, I was allowed to turn everything back on for the remainder of my time in the Hornet, so never had to admit that the profusion of womp rats that plagued Tatooine was partially down to my ineptitude. We were going around and round in circles over the local air-to-ground range called Saltash that was adjacent to the base, less than 4 miles away. The weapons we were dropping were little practice bombs, called, if my memory serves, BDU-33s. They only weighed 25 pounds, about 11 kgs, but would more or less follow the same trajectory as their larger cousins, the live munitions, such as the Mark 82 500-pound and Mark 84 2,000-pound weapons in the Australian inventory of the time. In the nose cone of the little practice bomb was a spotting charge that showed as a bright flash and a white cloud of smoke when they hit terra firma. In the Hornet, there were generally 3 ways of aiming bombs, not including the Force. The first was to use the continually computed impact point, displayed in the head-up display by a line dangling down from the flight path vector with a cross at the bottom. As the name suggests, the cross continually indicates where your bomb will land if you release it at that very moment. The technique was to try and guide the target into your HUD with it tracking down the line. The moment the cross intersected with the target, you pressed the pickle button and then shouted,
"Duck, you sucker!"
A second was another visual technique which relied on designating the target. This could be done numerous ways, but on the range we did it visually through the HUD. On pressing one of the multitude of buttons on the throttle, a diamond would appear, ground stabilized and with a line stretching up. A little ackling of the button left, right, up and down refined the position of the diamond onto the center of the thermal exhaust port, the target. All that was then required was to fly the aircraft's flight path onto and up the bomb full line. When it intersected with the small cross line, the release cue, so long as you were holding down the commit switch, the bomb would automatically release. Another technique was to lob the bomb over several miles, which we practiced against targets we didn't want to get close to, and that could be tracked by radar, such as ships. Locking the radar to the target produced a display similar to a visually designated target. Once in range, with the release cue visible, a firm pull up the bomb fall line brought the flight path vector up to the release point, whereupon the bomb would become a fledgling bird and fly the nest on a short and doomed attempt to stay airborne. At the time I flew, we were only given slick bombs to drop, which leads me to a very non-PC Jaguar pilot joke. What's the difference between a Jaguar pilot, there you can actually insert any bomber of your choice, and a Mark 82 bomb? Not all Mark 82s are retarded. Another might be, what's the difference between a Harrier pilot and a Hedgehog? Again, nominate your aircraft or indeed your spiny creature of choice. A hedgehog, echidna, porcupine, sea urchin, etc. has its pricks on the outside. Getting back to the subject, dropping a slick bomb, particularly from low level, always presented the danger of it exploding beneath you and destroying your aircraft as well as the target. Retard bombs use a high-drag device known as a balut attached to the rear of the bomb, which deploys after release to slow it down, allowing the aircraft to escape the fragmentation zone. Now, you know about as much regarding bomb dropping as I did at the time. Luckily, the sophistication of the Hornet's weapon system took care of my ignorance, and turned this particular art of war into something akin to a computer game, something we were all quite good at. As a result, it became commonplace to hear the range safety officer declare scores like 2 o'clock at 10 feet, 5 o'clock at 20 feet, DH, direct hit, DH, DH. With our academic skills adequately honed, it was time to bolt on some live ordnance and head north to the Royal Australian Air Force Base, Townsville, for a short detachment. Townsville was, and I'm sure remains, a picturesque city in Queensland, on the coast in between Brisbane and Cairns. Already populated by Aboriginal people, it was settled, sometimes violently, by various groups of colonialists in the 1860s, and it became a productive area of sugarcane plantations. In the 30s, an airfield was established there, which became a military base during World War II. Townsville was in the tropics, the winter months of which were dominated by the southeast trade winds, bringing fine weather, blue skies, warm days, and balmy nights. The flying was exciting as we worked up with formations of low-level overland missions which culminated in a live bomb drop on Cordelia Island just off the coast. These missions were often opposed by a bounce aircraft that would attack the formation several times as we ran around the route. We spent a lot of time looking for the bounce with radar and visually in case it swung our wing line and was approaching from the rear. It was during these exercises that I began to truly appreciate the sophistication and capability of the Hornet as a multi-role aircraft. Armed with air-to-ground weapons, it could also carry a pair of wingtip-mounted AIM-9 Mike heat-seeking sidewinders and a pair of belly-mounted AIM-7 Mike Sparrow radar-guided missiles to defend itself. Having gone through the air-to-air phase, we were well practiced in engaging other aircraft, and facing our formations of 2 or 4 Hornets, the bounce was usually neutralized before it became a threat. Indeed, the flexibility of the Hornet's fighting modes came clear during one particular engagement. Our bomb-dropping profiles were often pop attacks, in that we would fly to a point adjacent to the target at low level and then pop up to a predetermined altitude whilst visually acquiring the target, overbank, and then pull the target down into the head-up display at the correct dive angle, aim, release the weapon, recover, and then dive back down to low level on a safe egress heading. During one of these attacks, on pitching up, the bounce was spotted loitering over the target, hoping to engage us during the egress. The sharp-eyed pilot rolled his thumb forward on the stick, switching to the Hornet's air-to-air mode, locked a sidewinder to the enemy fighter, and fired. He then rolled his thumb back to re-engage the air-to-ground mode, reacquire the target, check his attack parameters, and then pitch down into a successful bombing run. Smooth beyond belief. The missions, including a night radar attack, kept us busy, but we had enough time off to enjoy some of the delights of this small tropical coastal town just off the Great Barrier Reef and everything it could offer. One of those involved a strange form of local golf, played in an attempt to reduce the area of a plague of cane toads. These noxious pests were deliberately introduced to Australia from Hawaii in an attempt to control the voracious cane beetle that was damaging crops. Sadly, in Australia there were no natural predators facing the cane toad, but plenty of food, most of which didn't actually include the cane beetle, which lives high up on the sugarcane stalks and out of reach. From an initial 102, over the years, the cane toad population exploded to an estimated 200 million, wreaking havoc on the ecosystem and causing the extinction of multiple species. From eggs to adults, the cane toads are toxic, having glands on their backs which hold bufotoxin. One lick or bite can kill native animals that might otherwise have kept the numbers down. As a result, there is considerable encouragement to humanely dispatch them wherever they are found. Stunning followed by decapitation is recommended, hence the unusual form of golf played on the lawn outside the mess. Other, more conventional forms of entertainment included whitewater rafting down the Tully River. With an average annual rainfall of 4¼ metres, that's 14 feet, the river has an impressive level of flow, which makes rafting through the rapids truly exhilarating. We partook, and all had gone well until our happy band of fighter pilots had been split up to help a group of Japanese ladies paddle along. I took a seat amongst the lovely ladies, and then watched with horror as the remainder of our group in their raft took a wrong turn and ran over a waterfall. They were all spilled out of the inverted inflatable, and once underwater were caught in a powerful underwater rotating current, a standing wave that pulled them deep into blackness and spun them around like flotsam and jetsam. Once seized, despite their life jackets and desperate attempts to swim clear, they were held underwater for a frightening length of time. One by one they eventually bobbed to the surface, and we pulled them into our boats. The looks on their white faces was enough to assure us that the fun had gone out of that day. More to my liking was a day out in a luxury catamaran to swim over the Great Barrier Reef and gaze at the multitude of amazing creatures that lived there. That was stunning, but then a few of us got the chance to do it courtesy of the range safety officer and his team in the range launch. After an hour's high-speed cruising out to the target area, he left us on Rattlesnake Island, about 5 miles, 7.5 kilometres from the aiming point, the small and sharply protruding Cordelia Island. We lazed on a beach and watched some of our course attack it with 500-pound live bombs. Even at that distance, the noise and shockwaves of those small bombs was mightily impressive. We got a few flypaths from the OC instructors as well, which was brilliant. And then on the final pass of the day, somebody hit the water just short of the target instead of the rock. We were already back on the RSO's boat, and we watched the impressive water spout before having boat hooks thrust into our hands. not wishing to waste the bounty of the sea, we set to, collecting the unfortunate fish that had succumbed to the trinitrotoluene and had floated to the surface. The course had taken a mere 5 months and concluded with my flight back to Willie, as RAAF Williamtown was affectionately known. I received a certificate of completion to mark the end of the course, and had so far logged 53 hours and 45 minutes of fun in the sun. A few days later, we got dressed up in our best bib and tucker, and with our ladies on our arms, attended the formal meal that marked our graduation as Australia's latest Hornet fighter pilots. A week later, I was strolling down the road a couple of 100 yards to join my new squadron, 77, the Grumpy Monkeys. The builders were still there, putting the finishing touches onto the building to accommodate the RAAF's latest aircraft, of which we had one. A 21-5 was the first Hornet airframe to wear the green colours of the squadron, and of course we all wanted to play with it. Quite rightly, however, so did the engineers, since their academic training courses hadn't really prepared them for the real thing. As a result, JK, our new squadron commander, arranged for all the pilots to head south to Melbourne and the government aircraft factory at Avalon Airfield. Only the first few F-18s were built in the USA, the rest were constructed at this Australian facility. Having been kept out of the engineers' hair for a few days, on the 16th of July 1987, I climbed into a 77 Squadron Hornet for the first time. For me, it was the start of a fantastic adventure, and I couldn't wait. But more of that next time.
Always mesmerizing. No, really. That was really... I didn't realize that that little fact that you mentioned at the very end there, that most of the Hornets were actually put together in Australia.
Yeah, I think that was, one of those political decisions where you, like, get a prefabricated house delivered and you assemble it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
so you could say it was made in your country.
Yeah, that exactly. So I don't think there was an awful lot of construction. There was a lot of bolting wings on and things, but the unit there didn't actually do a lot of actual construction. But I think when you're going to invest a lot of money in someone else's product to arm your forces, anything you can do to make it more more suitable for the public to understand, the better. So, but the fact is that it was that they were United States Navy aircraft. In fact, the Navy bought them and sort of shipped them over, basically in bits, and the Aussies put them together, which accounted for the reason why I had to get the U.S. Navy's permission to fly them, because they were kind of on the U.S. Navy's books, despite the fact that they got to the Australians. But no doubt about it, the Australians made a great decision to buy that airplane. It's a huge country. The legs of the F-18 weren't quite long enough to make it easy to move around. The F-111s that they had, that aircraft had an enormous range and was well suited to Australia. The F-18 was a fantastic aircraft, but it was more suited to defending the cities rather than going out and doing long-range interdiction sort of jobs. But I will go on to describe how the squadrons employed the aircraft, which I thought was fascinating. In other words, they basically said, well, we don't have a specific threat. This is not like Europe, where we've got the threat of Russia or the Soviet Union just over the border there. We have no idea who might attack us. So what we're going to do is we're going to train all our crews in every single aspect of attack that this aircraft can perform. So we learned how to do absolutely everything with it. There was no restriction on their imagination on what we might, and which led to some really fascinating exercises that we flew and attack missions, albeit all training, but brilliant. It really opened my eyes to every aspect of the Hornet's capability.
So Nick, and maybe it's just because I've been watching a couple of guys tearing apart the Maverick movie and the Hornet and everything. You were doing single seat F-18s, right? You didn't have a Rio in the back, right?
Correct.
So if you can do the bombing with the laser or whatever yourself, what was the purpose of the guy in the back? If you were capable of doing it yourself, was it just to take the load off of them, or?
Yeah, there were missions where one set of hands really wasn't enough, particularly if you're flying a low level at night, and you're. Let me describe a mission which was like Maritime Strike, which is, can be complicated, but you'd be ingressing in a 4-ship low level, so a couple of 100 feet above the waves to get beneath the fleet's radar, and you're formating on each other visually, but you're very close to the ground, and you're carrying sort of a harpoon, that sort of weapon, so you're going to launch an anti-ship missile, and you're coordinating your attack with 2 or 3 other formations coming in from other angles, like a wagon wheel, and there's an Orion airborne who's using its radar to plot the ship's position, and they're broadcasting on HF the Serpic brief, which is basically a short transmission with all the information you need to know about the disport of the position, the disport of the fleet, the high value targets, etc. You're trying to program that into your system, so you're typing in lats and longs in through the display in front of you, and you're programming the missile about where to go. And in those days we couldn't program it cleverly. We used to have to try and point it on a bore sight so it would go through and wouldn't hit a picket ship. You're doing all this stuff so close to the water at night, and harder for the wingman than for me, because they're trying to formate on me at the same time. So there was a huge area there where things could easily go wrong. A moment's inattention, or if you decide to use the autopilot on a radio altimeter hold, the single channel autopilot close to the ground, there's always a chance it could fail and plop you in the sea. So, high risk. We tried it with a naval officer in the back to help us out, and it took so much workload down that I went, this is the way to go. Similar mission was close air support, same sort of thing. Got a 4-ship driving around with bounce, got radio briefing coming on your target. You're trying to type all the information into your weapons computer on where the target is, decide what kind of attack to use, program the weapons, which to use and how to deploy them. It was just a huge workload. Other areas, it was ideal for single seat, but I, despite the fact I love single seat, I'm always think having a second man in the aircraft was brilliant, was great, always. But that's just my personal opinion.
Well, I look forward to hearing part 2 of you teased it well.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually doing the next talk I'm giving is that entire tour condensed into 1 hour. So I'll have lots of stuff to talk about, which is great.
By the way, also kudos on your interview of the Harrier pilot who wrote
thank you.
9 Lives. You're welcome.
Yeah, very interesting chap. Chris, he was a man who had a Harrier crash and a lot of Harrier experience, and a lot of people fascinated by that airplane, as I was. And we've revealed a few flaws in the airplane, plus also hear about a fascinating flying career. That sadly is on our competitors, PT UK. So.
Oh yeah, then nobody's going to be able to hear it then.
Yeah, I know. So you're not allowed to go listen to that.
You're not allowed.
Sorry.
No. Yeah. It'd be very disappointing.
Otherwise, we'll ban you.
We're joking around, of course, because most, or a lot at least, of the audience here also are audience
traitors
of the PTUK. Yeah. Yeah, let's close today's show with this last piece of feedback from Anonymous. And, number 15 for you guys. Anonymous writes in, I've been a listener since starting flight training several years ago. I have contingent job offers, CJOs, with class dates next month for Commute Air and SkyWest. My ultimate career goal, I'm 46 years old now, is to retire from Delta or United, possibly Southwest, based at Los Angeles International. I was just wondering if you might have any advice for which regional would be best to get there. I don't know if you guys can hear that commotion
Who's
out
fighting in the hallway?
Yeah. Tone it down.
Is there a party going on? Do we need
Apparently,
to
I wasn't invited.
Make our way down to your house to join in?
Anyway, we continue. SkyWest has a good reputation and an LAX base. I'd be flying the E-175, but they're non-union, and even with the proposed new pay rates being voted on, it would pay a little less than Commute Air if you count the retention bonuses. Commute Air is ALPA, Airline Pilots Association Union, 40% owned by United, and has a solid contract in place with decent pay, good bonuses, and commuter benefits. I'll be flying the ERJ 145 and have to commute from LAX to IAH, which is Houston Intercontinental. Sorry for the wordy email. I respect your opinion, would really appreciate any insight you might have. I hope all is well, and look forward to listening to the next episode of APG. Sincerely, Anonymous. Now, I wrote back to him and said, I know you're looking for solid advice, and I'm not sure that I know enough about this world to give you any good advice, but I do know somebody that has experience in the regional world, and recent experience at that. And so I reached out to Stephen Ivey, our guest host today, and asked if he would help me give Anonymous some advice regarding, which way should he go, or what are some things that he should consider. And Stephen was nice enough to take his time and recorded some audio feedback, which we were going to play today on today's show. But this is even better. We have Stephen here with us live. So, Stephen, if you could possibly give Anonymous some advice, and perhaps maybe a bunch of people listening that might, find that advice valuable as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think I mentioned this earlier. I did work at SkyWest. I was on the CRJ. So I'm gonna do my best not to be jaded towards them. So the first thing I'm gonna go with here is the commuting piece of it. That feedback I sent him was pretty heavy on it, but any airline that you can go to where you don't have to commute is going to change your quality of life immensely. So the first thing you need to realize, though, is when you go get these jobs at these regional airlines, you're going to put a bid in for the bases that they have available to you based on the aircraft that you're going to. So for SkyWest, that 175 base, they have, I believe, 12 of them, and they're everywhere from Minneapolis all the way out to San Diego. So you could very well end up at one not going to.
Hang on, Stephen. Somebody doesn't want you to give this advice. You're frozen.
So
you can hear us. I
think
can
somebody's
hear you,
put a spanner in the works there.
Yeah. We see a still of your picture. Can you hear us, Stephen? Yeah. Okay, we'll see what he says. Hey, you know what? We have audio.
The backup.
Yeah. And then what we can do is, if we have to use the recorded audio, we can just go ahead, instead of playing that out on the video, we can just pretend that yep, he's gone now. We can pretend that, we just listened to it, heard it, and then we'll just do the wrap-up. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is very long. I think it's about 20-something minutes long. Okay.
Have you seen what Tim has written?
No. This part always reminds me of a seance. Okay, let's put our hands down on the laptop. Excuse me. Oh, man. Yeah, Liz says, see, he should have been using Netscape browser. Well, you know what? Let's just... Yeah, we'll wait a couple more minutes, and then if he's not back, then we'll wrap things up. No, I'm not feeling great. I need to get a good night's sleep tonight. No, looking outside, the weather looks not bad. It's just kind of overcast. Doesn't even look like it's drizzly right now. No wind. I mean, literally calm wind. Stand by. Stand by, all y'all, is what Steven's telling us. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Oh, we got to bring him in. Okay.
I can see him.
Hey.
I see you now.
Sorry about that. I have cellular internet and it dropped out. So.
Oh, cellular.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got T-Mobile, who Starlink's partnering with, but I still can't get my Starlink out here. So that's a whole other thing. But well.
Yeah. Well, if you finagle it like I did, you could get it.
Yeah. I'll have to talk about how yours is doing, because I'm gonna do that. I
don't know where we were. I'm talking about commuting and bases.
Yeah, we just start over.
Or you don't have to start over from the very beginning, but because I don't remember exactly where it was that we started losing you.
Oh, so I was that boring, huh?
It was fine. It wasn't long into it though.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and start from the beginning.
Okay. Where was I even at? Okay, so yeah, I can give a little bit of advice. So
I think I mentioned before, I was at SkyWest. I was on the CRJ, so I will try not to be a little jaded towards them or throw them under the bus. But so the first thing I would say is this commuting thing. It's not fun, and living in base is a huge quality of life difference. So if you can find a regional airline that has the plane you would like to fly and has a base near you, I would highly recommend it. And the thing you got to realize is too, so they'll tell you that, yeah, they've got these bases on the West Coast or they got a base in your home city. But the thing is, if the staffing at the airline says, well, we need people over at this other base, you very well could get that when you are going through training. So just because you've got a base in LAX doesn't mean that you're going to get it right off the bat. You could go through training and get stuck in, I think there's a 175 base in Minneapolis. There's one in Chicago. So that's all a possibility. Now you can bid for a different base, but it's all time and, it's all location, time and location for when you're at an airline. So the same thing, you could apply that to commuter too. So just really evaluate, and go do your own research, find people that work for these places and figure out where their junior bases are and what their junior fleet is, so you can figure that out. The second thing kind of look at, he mentioned the union thing, and I'm not really going to go into it, but I will say work rules are better at union carriers in general. Not always the case, but the work rules are generally better at union carriers. Additionally, I also mentioned that SkyWest actually just got a new contract or a new agreement last week. Their pay got bumped up a pretty good bit. So if you're looking at them, go take a look at that new agreement they've got out. The other thing that they mention here too is these commuter benefits. Not every airline has them. SkyWest doesn't. So Commute Air, I believe, is offering, if you're a reserve pilot, which means you're on call, you can get so many hotel rooms on the company's dime per month. And then you can also get positive space commuting on United back and forth. And that's a great thing, but you're still going to take 8 hours of your week to go back and forth to Houston, because it's roughly 3.5 hours each way, plus the time you spend taxiing around and everything. And then, once you evaluate all that, really it comes down to pay and benefits. I think right now about all the regionals are paying the same. The wholly owns like Envoy, PSA, and Piedmont, they've got an increased pay right now, but it's only for like the next 2 years. And then I think about everybody's going to be about that same $100 an hour pay range that everyone's went to, it seems like, for the regionals. So take a look at that. Look at what bonuses they offer. A lot of them offer retention bonuses. So you're there for so long, you'll get X amount of dollars. Then once you upgrade, you'll get X amount of dollars as well. And then you also mentioned that you were looking at going to Delta, United, or SkyWest. So a good thing to point out here too is United's, they're not wholly owned, but they're main regional carriers. So Commute Air, GoJet, and there's one more. I think Mesa participates in it too. Is that this Aviate program, which is a flow-through program, and what that is you start with these regional airlines, and then you upgrade an X amount of time. You'll be able to get an interview at United. I think it's usually 2.5 to 4 years. I'm not overly sure, but the American wholly owns also have that same type program. So that's PSA, Envoy, and Piedmont. They have a flow-through agreement with American, and that varies depending on the airline you're working for. I think it's 3 years plus to flow through to American. And then I don't believe Delta has a program. I think they Endeavor tried to get one, but the two unions couldn't come to an agreement on it, so I don't think that's active.
And then Southwest, they generally they don't have a program per se. I think they just started one, but it's not affiliated with any particular airline. But I know with Southwest, they do tend to like ex-military guys a good bit. So that's just a couple of things to look for. And I've mentioned this at while we were doing the Get to Know Us, but quality of life's a big thing. I love it. That's why I left SkyWest, because I got tired of the commuting, because my base in Atlanta closed. So if you can find a regional that's got a base nearby where you live, and you're not going to have to move, or if you're just going to have to commute for a short amount of time, or even if you have to take a little bit of a pay cut, you're going to save so much time and money from not having to commute. It's life changing.
Yeah,
Stephen.
It's really hard to put a,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Jeff.
We were talking at the same time.
Since Anonymous is keen to have an ultimate goal career of getting to Delta or United based at LA, is there any way he can accept, pay now to achieve that aim? Is there a simple path that? No, I don't think any path's simple, but is there a path that'll get him to his ultimate aim that he might have to endure a few years of discomfort to get there?
I don't think there's a clear path nowadays, just because there's such a big demand, and there's just so many different ways to go about doing it. Certainly, if you're a former military, you've got a better chance than civilian guys do by a long shot. Next to that, I would say that having more PIC time at the regionals will definitely help you out. Additionally, to the various job fairs, meet and greets and everything, meeting the chief pilots, getting your name out there, I'd say that helps you out a lot too. And then also, depending on who you talk to, the amount of times you update your application every month also gets your name out there a lot more than it does others. So there's a lot of different ways you can go about doing it.
So there isn't. Oh, damn.
There's a Stephen Ivy.
Yeah, ex-Stephen Ivy. Oh, it's interesting. I was just wondering if there was a regional that had a clearer path into one of those majors. It's an interesting thing. It's so convoluted, and of course it changes all the time.
That's the thing.
It's a far from simple proposition.
Right now,
isn't it?
There might be some kind of an agreement with one of the regionals with a major, but a year from now or 2 years from now, will it still be there? It's hard to say.
Interesting that Stephen keeps mentioning the military. Of course, not really an option, I don't think, for Anonymous here, because he's too late on in his career. But it just shows that if you do get an opportunity to get into the military, it can open up so many doors for you.
Yeah. Welcome back, Stephen.
Yep. Sorry to keep dropping out, yeah.
Oh, that's what happens.
Well, we've heard you're a bit of a dropout.
It's not a false statement.
Good for you.
Yeah, Captain Nick was talking about these flow-through agreements or cooperation agreements, but it seems to me that they only last for a certain term, and then
And I haven't been a part of one, but I've talked to guys while I've been around the jump seat. It's just, it can range like a lot of time for how long you spend at this regional. There's one guy that I talked to. He'd been waiting 6.5 years to go from Envoy to American. Another guy waited like 4.5 at PSA. I don't understand how they work per se. I know it's seniority based and how many pilots that Americans taking, and then with United's Aviate program, I haven't really heard a clear consensus on how it works for how they, pick a number of people. I do know all of these programs, they take X amount of people per month from XYZ airline that they have an agreement with. But then the people like me that haven't been a part of it, that take so many of those too. And I mean, and this is, you can be in a flow through program all day long, but it's going to come down to what your credentials are. If you're a guy that's got 5,000 hours of PIC time, they're going to take you before they take a guy that has 2,500. That's all it comes down to. And if you've got a letter of recommendation from somebody that works inside the company or a chief pilot, that's going to help you out a lot more than, somebody that doesn't. So, there's we could go on for hours about what's going to get you in there, but it's really just doing your research on going to, job fairs, networking with people, and just really having a clean record. Outside of that, unless you're paying off somebody, that's that's really the only way to go about doing it.
There are some interesting things here too, because we're not comparing apples and oranges here. We're talking union representation. I would have said is very high on my list, but the aircraft type very low. Now, I haven't flown either of these types. I might be making a big mistake there, but that kind of would be my take on that. A company that is closely linked to a major would be much more important to me than one that is not and doesn't have a good history of moving pilots forward. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because how do you compare an aircraft type with a company that's union based? Does it really weigh up? Well, it's a short-term thing. This is a stepping stone to get to your ultimate career. So no, the aircraft type to me I don't really care about. I wouldn't really care about. I'd be quite interested in the union thing because it protects me so much. On the other hand, you mentioned a lot about basing, and if you're going to have to do this for years and you're interested in a family life and a married life, and that's important to you, then the basing is going to be equally high up there in your priorities. It depends on the individual and what importance you put on these things, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. It really comes down to what do you want to do with your life and what you have going on in your life at the current moment. I could have easily stayed at SkyWest. I'd be honest, I'd probably already be gone to a major by now, probably, if I would have, because I'd had the PIC time in. But I knew the quality of life wasn't there because I'll just be frank, SkyWest work rules they're kind of rough. Even as a line holder, they can still pull you off of your trip and go assign you something else within your original footprint. And that's fine. But if you had, if you were getting done at a certain time to make a flight home, and then they change this other flight, and then while you're at the outstation, the plane breaks, which that could happen on your original trip too, but it's just little things like that throw a wrench in the plans that you had to get home. And then not only that, as a reserve person, before this most recent agreement, you do a lot of sitting at the airport on standby for 8 hours at a time, but you're only getting paid for 4 hours of it. So, I get you're on reserve, and that's part of it, but, it was little things like that just, I think a lot of these union-ran airlines, they don't have those little issues like that. If you get called out, you get pulled off of your trip to go do something else, you're getting paid for it. At SkyWest, if you weren't making more credit on what they gave you better than what you already assigned, you weren't getting any extra money on it. You just did the extra work, and that was it. You weren't getting paid extra.
Yeah.
So
the union protection can be very valuable, but I think perhaps more for an established career. If you're intending to only spend a few years in a company as a means to an end, then I wouldn't care so much. But if it's going to be my career airline for 20 years, then golly, yes. Union, a strong union representation would mean a lot to me.
And I'll just throw this out here too, because you mentioned the aircraft type really doesn't matter to you. And in all actuality, it doesn't. But if you won't like just the comfort of the aircraft type that you're going to be spending hours in. Obviously, a newer aircraft like the 175 is going to be better than the 145 that's coming up on 30 years old and is more manual than the 175 is. So it's just a matter of what do you want to fly and what are you going to spend your hours in the most. And I'd go to the 175 before the CRJ again if I was doing it over. But that's just me.
And it's 30 better than the 145.
Quite understand.
It is.
Hold my
It's
hands up and
30
say,
digits.
yeah.
All right. Great discussion. Thanks, Stephen, for
you're welcome.
Good stuff, Stephen. Well done. Thanks.
And it's now time to wrap up today's show. And we want to thank all of you for, especially those of you in the live audience, thanks for hanging with us today. And if you are signed up for, following, all that kind of stuff, us on Facebook and Twitter, which we're going to tell you about here in a moment, then we'll put out notices when we think we're going to be recording. Doesn't always work out. That way you can join us when we record the show live, perhaps, if it works out with your schedule. I think you'll have fun. And so thank you again for listening to our show. And make sure you head over to airlinepilotguy.com, the website, where we have a lot of information about all kinds of sorts of things there, including the APG community calendar. And we're also on social media, or what I like to call the social medias.
Absolutely. And if you look on Facebook, you'll find us at Airline Pilot Guy. That's all one word. And on Twitter, it's very simple, at APG Crew, which is just about the same as Instagram, which is APG Crew.
The Insta.
Yeah. We don't seem to have a TikTok account. Why is that?
Because we don't want one.
We don't want a TikTok. I think we do,
Well, if you want to do that, that's your thing.
Scroll back about 2 days in the private chat, and you'll see why we don't need a TikTok.
Okay, fair enough. I'll do that.
Okay, and let's see. We are also on Slack, and let's see. Of course, Hillel is the one that helps us out with that, and he usually helps tell us all about. Oh, hang on. I think I hear him. Hey, Hillel, can you help us with Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
The people in the hallway are probably, what is that guy yelling about? All right, here we go, and boom.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and Plain Tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
All right, thank you very much, Hillel, for telling us about. There's hair in his toothbrush. Sorry.
What kind of hair? Is it short and curly?
Oh, that's not good. All right, let's move on and finally say thanks again for listening to our show. We certainly do appreciate it, and we're hoping that we'll see you again or be in your ear again on the next episode. So with that, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all.
Bye-bye.
Wow, still a racket out there.
All right. What's going on?
I don't know, but I hope they hold it down tonight so I can get some sleep.
You're in Melbourne?
Yeah, and it's been so quiet here. Maybe it's the hurricane party.
Yes, people evacuating.
Very well, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
It'll be a bunga party.
Anybody in the chat room have any title suggestions?
I've got not really Ivy League. What was the reference for that, Tim?
My last
Tim
name's
can't
Ivy.
speak.
Oh, Ivy.
Well, I'm thinking it might be you.
Stephen Ivy.
Oh, okay.
So
I didn't really hear or see one.
See, my concept here, Nick, you got to stick with me on this. We sort of talked a lot about going to college, how to become a pilot, how did Anonymous want to get. So you have this big game board here, right? And at the end is getting to the majors, but you've got all these factors, like you've got military and college and like, I don't know what the title would be. It's sort of like the complicated world of training or something. I don't know.
You could do like the game of life board, and instead it could be
the game of a
pilot life. Yeah, the pilot life or something.
Do you know what I'm getting
life. I like pilot life. It's nice and short.
Do you know what I'm getting at though? Like conceptually.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of. Have you got? Is there something in real life that I can work with from?
Could we find
like
an
a picture
image
of the game of life
game board?
Because I don't know what the game of life is. That's
You've
gone
never
over my
played
head.
the game of life? What?
No.
The game of life.
Look, I'm a zombie. I don't play life.
You've lived it. You don't need to play it.
Well, yeah, it's all lived up.
When did I send that TikTok of that crazy guy? I thought that was recently.
I'll send you a picture, Nick. I'll send you a picture.
Well, I'm Googling it now.
Okay, yeah, you can find it. You can find it.
Left-wing drug dealer. Like that.
Well, that's good.
You see, it's an American game. First popular parlor game.
Yeah, the only other two things were the sonic booms and the drug cartel thing, but everything else we sort of talked about training and career path and college and I don't know. I just sort of thought maybe we could work something around all that, but not very helpful, I'm afraid, from me.
That's good. I wish I had played this just once because I could think of like Snakes and Ladders. I know, but I don't know this game at all. But I could do my best, but I might need some inputs from you guys who've actually seen it work.
Well, Stephen probably can give you some.
Yeah, I could give you some if you needed it.
Yeah, well, send me some ideas on what I could put on the board. You know what the squares could mean. Pilot life, as in the game.
Hot pilots of Instagram.
Oh dear.
Pilots of Instagram.
Whoo.
Left wing drug dealer. Oh, that's quite good because they hit the left wing, didn't they?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That could make an interesting cover.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Great to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry it took so long for us to finally execute on this. I don't think I mentioned the fact that why it didn't work out on Saturday night. That was the showing thing, and I kind of got booted out of the house. And I was going to try to do the hosting from my car and make it a car cast, but that didn't work out very well. And and also, I was tired, and Nick was kind of feeling under the weather as well. So we said,
I had
just
2 inoculations, one on each arm, and I was starting to feel
that was Sunday night
effects.
Yeah. Was it Sunday night?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sunday.
Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, you're right. It was Sunday.
Any other ideas, just in case there's a hiccup with the game of life? No? Okay.
Not really.
I need lots of hints from you as to what I might do to this game of life to turn it into a pilot. The pilot's life.
Or is it is it a beaver or is it an otter? That from the NTSB that got the plane wrong.
And all that kind of stuff. Beaver or all that kind of stuff would be good.
Or just make the title.
Beaver or otter?
Yeah, beaver or otter.
Question mark.
Yeah.
Well, I know what a beaver looks like, but I've never played with an otter.
I think they're awful cute.
They're kind of the same, really. We're just one each does it.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to end the broadcast now.
Are we?
Bye. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Thank you,
Bye,
everybody.
y'all.
Apparently,